Chapter 1482. In terms of absorbing the pure true fire, Yang Chen also had experience. Under the Languel, Yang Chen once helped Tao Junkie absorb the pure true fire as a life source fire seed. Although he used the merit and virtue protection at that time, after all, it was also an experience of absorbing the 7th grade fire seed. With that experience, Yang Chen has a lot more knowledge of the pure true fire. Coupled with the confidence of absorbing the pure Yang true fire, Yang Chen was also full of confidence in absorbing the pure true fire. The 7th grade fire seed was the 7th grade fire seed. In any case, Yang Chen could not save much time. From the first pure true fire entered the body and integrated into the Yang heaven burning fire to enough fire seeds were absorbed by Yang Chen, another 15 years passed in a blink of an eye. The 4th fire spirit power also skyrocketed. On the basis of the previous pure Yang true fire, the 3rd fire and 4th fire spirit power broke through the limit of the human immortal 1st grade and entered the realm of the human immortal 2nd grade. The other attributes of spirit power, driven by the 3rd fire and 4th fire spirit power, rushed straight to the peak Deshang stage. The spirit power of Yang Chen's whole body swelled, and the clothes on his body moved without wind. The Yang heaven burning fire in his body finally reached a balance after absorbing the pure true fire. 2 fire dragons, one was only left with a faint translucent cyan color, and the other almost turned into a thick dark purple. The fire dragon had scales and claws. Under the control of Yang Chen, it was like 2 living dragons, flying up and down. When the sea of consciousness was balanced by the 3rd fire and 4th fire, it suddenly swelled up and directly expanded more than twice, and then slowly shrank under the strong pressure and stopped when it reached a radius of 10,000 acres. In the sea of consciousness, the 2 fire dragons completely became a behemoth, and the length was almost comparable to the Blood River. The color was exactly the same as the 2 fire dragons of the Yang heaven burning fire. In the demon seal formation of the pure Yang Palace, everyone felt a terrifying and unparalleled pressure which made people want to immediately kneel on the ground and worship, and they did not even have the will to resist. Fortunately, this coercion was just pure coercion, and it did not contain murderous intent or other malice. This made the masters of Chunyang Palace feel a little relieved even though they were frightened. The pressure disappeared as quickly as it came. Before anyone could find the source of the pressure, it had already disappeared without a trace. However, the principal elders of the pure Yang side palace could clearly sense that the pressure came from the rear hall. The rear hall was where the young palace lord, Yang Chen, cultivated in seclusion. Only he could make all the disciples bow their heads. Of course, this also meant that Yang Chen's cultivation base was higher and the pure Yang side palace was more safe and sound. Not long after, the elder on duty received Yang Chen's call and hurried to the rear hall. Yang Chen didn't call him over for any important instructions, he just continued to learn about the current situation on the demon continent. There was basically not much change in the demon continent, and each sect was still developing step by step. However, in the core demon seal formation, there were only beasts above the 5th grade of the human immortal realm left. Although the number was less than 1,000 in terms of strength, it could be said to be 90% of the combat power of the entire demon continent. This level of beasts was no longer something that ordinary masters of the Deshang stage could provoke. In Chunyang Palace, except for the old tree demon and Ho Yun, who could deal with a 5th grade human immortal realm beast, other people were not qualified to join the battle circle at all. Even if Ho Yun and the old tree demon joined forces, they could only fight to a draw with a 5th grade human immortal realm beast. There was no need to worry about self-preservation. There was no chance to kill it at all. The beasts above the 5th grade human immortal realm had now become a sharp sword hanging over the heads of all the sect in the demon continent. No one knew when it would erupt completely. Now the only thing everyone could rely on was the demon seal formation. If there was any danger at that time, they might have to make other plans. Yang Chen said that as long as the demonic qi was exhausted, these beasts would ascend immediately. Now no one dared to conclude whether the demonic qi on the beasts inside had been completely cleaned up, but those of the 5th grade human immortal realm beasts on the outermost periphery were already clean, and there was no longer any tacit contamination. It was just because of the obstruction of the demon seal formation, there was no chance to ascend. Once all the sect was aware of the danger, the first thing everyone had to do was to remove the demon seal formation and trigger the heavenly tribulation. This was very clean and neat, leaving no future trouble. However, so many beasts above the 5th grade human immortal realm, no one was willing to let them ascend. The beasts below the 4th grade human immortal realm must have a devilish bead, let alone this kind of higher-level devilish bead. According to the judgment of those who knew the goods, the devilish bead in their hands, if used purely to improve their cultivation base, the 1st grade human immortal realm could add 1,000 years of cultivation base to a person. Not to mention that Yang Chen once said that the devilish bead above the 5th grade human immortal realm was the main medicinal material for refining the longevity pill. For those masters with good qualifications, it was absolutely not advisable to directly take the devilish bead to increase their cultivation base, but taking the longevity pill to increase their lifespan was definitely an irresistible temptation. Whether it was a mortal or a cultivator, no one would dislike their long life, right? Yang Chen had not appeared, and the major sect had been keeping these beasts in captivity. Occasionally, a few masters would be used to practice, and the ordinary masters of the Deshang stage had no chance and returned to their respective sect. From the completion of the formation to the present, it had been 60 years. According to Yang Chen's estimation, all the demonic qi should have been cleaned up. However, no one knew what was going on inside. Even Elder Wang, who had the strongest cultivation base at that time, did not have the courage to enter the core area at this time and explore what was going on inside. Yang Chen once said that after 100 years, now only a few decades had passed, no one dared to urge Yang Chen on this, for fear of making Yang Chen unhappy. But the major sects were not without any gains. The strongest master of each sect had a cultivation base that exceeded the 5th grade human immortal realm, but it was limited to 1 or 2. Recently, they had been planning whether they could start hunting the beasts above the 5th grade human immortal realm to prepare the materials for Yang Chen to refine the longevity pill in the future. It was just because they didn't know Yang Chen's attitude, so they hadn't started. Inform the major sect and let them rest assured that they can hunt as much as they want. Yang Chen casually told the elder on duty, I still need to prepare for a while. Although the devilish bead of the 5th grade human immortal realm was good, it was definitely much worse than those devilish beads that had absorbed the demonic qi of the entire demon continent. Moreover, Yang Chen still had the core of the demon continent, which could produce stronger devilish beads anytime and anywhere. There was no need to compete with others for these so-called resources. Chapter 1483. The news released by Yang Chen was very exciting. Although Yang Chen did not say that he was ready, but from the performance of Yang Chen in alchemy in the past, Yang Chen has never lied. He still needed a period of time to prepare, but it was not a long time. In fact, it was not impossible to start refining the longevity pill now. However, since Li Qing said that adding another kind of fire seed would give him more assurance, Yang Chen certainly strived to be more stable. Although it may waste more than 10 years, it could save more materials. The white flame that Li Qing gave to Yang Chen was taken out by Yang Chen again. After careful exploration for a long time, he decided not to absorb and fuse this kind of fire seed first, but to absorb another 7th grade fire seed first. Since he had already pursued stability, it would be more stable. This kind of fire seed, he would wait until Li Qing came out of seclusion. There was also a ready-made 7th grade fire seed in his hand, which Yang Chen had contact with before, that is, the life source fire seed of the profound spirit furnace when the original physical body was still there, spirit-devouring dragon fire. When Yang Chen came into contact with the spirit-devouring dragon fire under the Langya well, at that time, Yang Chen could not rely on his own ability to compete with it. He could only use the merit chapter, and use a huge amount of merit to help himself forcibly collect the spirit-devouring dragon fire into the profound spirit furnace. In the previous experience, he had also been exposed to this kind of fire seed, especially when the dragon spirit was still there. The spirit-devouring dragon fire was his life source fire seed. Yang Chen could learn how to control this kind of fire seed through him. After absorbing the pure Yang True Fire and the pure Yin True Fire, Yang Chen was already confident in controlling the 7th grade fire seed. There was also a dragon spirit around him that could guide him carefully. The process of absorbing the spirit-devouring dragon fire was not difficult at all. The only thing he needed was time. Yang Chen's spiritual power cultivation base has been rapidly improved, and his spiritual awareness cultivation base has reached the realm of the 2nd grade of the Earth Immortal, and it was more convenient to control it. It took only 12 years to completely absorb and integrate the spirit-devouring dragon fire, which was 3 years less than the 15 years of the pure Yang True Fire and the pure Yin True Fire. When Yang Chen finished absorbing the spirit-devouring dragon fire and came out of seclusion, he was delighted to find that Li Qing had also come out of seclusion. Gao Yugong's Sunling was waiting for Yang Chen to come out of seclusion with a face full of joy. There must be some good news. Husband. Gao Yu and Gong's Sunling happily called Yang Chen. If Li Qing wasn't far away, the two women would have thrown themselves into Yang Chen's arms immediately. Big brother. Yang Chen nodded at the two women and bowed to Li Qing without saying anything. My luck is pretty good this time. Li Qing looked at Yang Chen and nodded as well. Then, he gave Yang Chen a piece of good news. The refining of the magic treasures has basically been completed. There is only one last step left. Looks like you didn't waste your time either. Your cultivation has improved quite well. Li Qing didn't say what the last step was, and Yang Chen certainly wouldn't ask. When Li Qing needed him to know, he would definitely let him know. Since he didn't say it, there must be a reason. However, Li Qing was very satisfied with Yang Chen's cultivation during this time. The fire seed I gave you, have you absorbed it? It was not surprising that Li Qing could see Yang Chen's cultivation at a glance, but he still couldn't see that Yang Chen's yin-yang heaven-burning fire had merged with those fire seeds, so he quickly asked. Big brother, I studied the fire seed you gave me for a while, but I can't understand it. Yang Chen didn't show off this time. He replied very truthfully. So I haven't moved for the time being. I will wait for Big Brother to come out of seclusion before asking. Then what have you fused with these days? Li Qing was immediately curious and immediately asked. Gao Yu and Gong Sunling wanted to know more about their husband's experience. Naturally, they also pricked up their ears for fear of missing anything. This younger brother has absorbed pure Yang True Fire, pure Yin True Fire, and spirit-devouring dragon fire. Yang Chen didn't dare to neglect and immediately answered honestly. After answering, he didn't wait for Li Qing and the two women to ask questions. He immediately said the reason why he absorbed and integrated these 3 kinds of fire seeds first. After listening to Yang Chen, Li Qing's face, which was just a smile, finally showed a more brilliant smile. It seems that you have a long memory. You know that you shouldn't touch things that you don't understand completely. Li Qing's words directly scared Yang Chen. Could it be that the purpose of Li Qing giving him the white flame was to test him to see if he remembered the previous lesson? Fortunately, he always felt that it was safe and he had the opportunity to ask Li Qing more, so he didn't rush to absorb it. If he was hot-headed at that time, Yang Chen didn't know what the consequences would be. Having said that, he knew that it was safe. It might not be because of the influence of the previous things. When he couldn't completely understand those things, Whether it was the entrance to the Immortal beheading platform or the white flame, it was better not to act rashly. In this way, it was not in vain for me to go into seclusion for so many years. Li Cheng's words were easy, but Yang Chun had an indescribable fear. If it wasn't for his good performance, he would have almost been given up by Li Cheng. Although Li Cheng would still recognize him as a sworn brother, Yang Chun had a feeling that after the accident, he would not be as important as before. Yang Chun didn't know why he attached so much importance to Li Cheng's view, but he felt that things should be like this. Perhaps it was because of Li Cheng's mysterious cultivation, or perhaps it was because of other reasons, but in any case, it was not bad for him to believe in Li Cheng. This combination magic treasure is still missing one last step. Li Cheng immediately said, "The artifact spirit has passed the tribulation. After all the artifact spirits have successfully passed the tribulation, we can proceed to the next step." It was another big move. Yang Chen didn't know how Li Cheng did it. The magic treasure artifact spirit in his hands, a dragon spirit, plus a Zhu and a Bai, all had the ability to pass the tribulation by various chance coincidences. However, Li Cheng actually took more than 100 magic treasures of any random artifact spirit and combined them together. He could even let the magic treasure pass the tribulation. This method was really unpredictable. The fire seed is a bit mysterious, it can't be absorbed by ordinary methods. Li Cheng's words still continued, "When all the artifact spirits have passed the tribulation, I will show you how to collect those fire seeds." "Thank you, big brother." Yang Chen didn't know what to say at the moment or what to say to express his gratitude, so he still said these words in a vulgar way. "You and I are brothers, there is no need to say this nonsense." Li Cheng waved his hand gently and said very casually, "In fact, I am also very curious about what effect your longevity pill can have. If it is successful, you can extend your lifespan with the level of a mere 5th grade alchemy master. You will be the first person among the alchemy masters." Chapter 1484. Li Cheng's words made Yang Chen excited, even more exciting than everyone else in the world admitting that he was the best alchemist. Yang Chen didn't know why. He only knew that his sworn brother had such charm, a word of praise could make him happy for a long time. This kind of mood, Yang Chen had never had even in front of Gao Yu. It had to be said that Li Cheng's mystery still made Yang Chen afraid, but it inexplicably made him feel close to him. In some ways, Yang Chen was extremely respectful of Li Cheng. Yes, not only admiration, but also admiration. Not to mention anything else, just in terms of refining, Yang Chen did not dare to say that he could subdue more than 100 high-level spiritual weapons in a mere 50 years, let alone let so many super tool spirits cross their tribulation. However, Li Cheng did it. Although he hasn't seen the scene of the tool spirit's tribulation yet, Yang Chen firmly believes that he will be able to appreciate it soon. Li Cheng really did not let Yang Chen down, and directly left the Pure Yang Palace with Yang Chen and Gao Yugong Sunling, preparing for the Tool Spirit's tribulation. The Pure Yang Palace was surrounded by the Demon Ceiling Formation, and it could not attract the tribulation at all. The place of the tribulation must be out of the scope of the Demon Ceiling Formation. This time, Yang Chen did not inform anyone else to watch the ceremony. Just the family of 3 riding Li Cheng's iron-winged eagle mount followed Li Cheng all the way south, straight to the seaside. It was far away from the scope of the Pure Yang Palace, and it was far away from the residential areas of those mortals. Yang Chen did not ask why along the way. Hundreds of super tool spirits crossing their tribulation at the same time, that kind of power could definitely turn all the mortals within 1,000 miles of the tribulation area into ashes. Until they reached the edge of the super large formation that blocked the demon continent, Li Cheng stopped. After the 4 people took a short break, Li Cheng finally took out the super magic weapon that had been refined. To Yang Chen's surprise, the super magic weapon turned out to be in the shape of an armor. In Yang Chen's imagination, A super artifact composed of so many offensive artifacts should at least be a weapon. He never expected that it would turn into a defensive artifact. When their sworn big brother made a move, it was really hard to grasp. Gao Yu and Gong Sunling had seen the whole picture of this magic weapon, so they were not very surprised. There was even a hint of pride in Gao Yu's eyes. Presumably, she had also contributed a lot to the refining of this super magic treasure. Li Qing very casually threw the super magic treasure far away, then picked up the wine glass, waiting for Gong Sunling to pour wine for him. He did not even look over there, as if everything was already decided, and there would be no more surprises. The eyes of Yang Chen, Gao Yu and Gong Sunling involuntarily stared at the armor, rotating with the flight of the armor. As soon as the armor left Li Cheng's hand, tribulation clouds began to condense in the sky without any warning. It was as if Li Cheng had a small demon sealing formation in his hand, which was shielding him from the heavenly tribulation. In this regard, no one in Yang Chen's family showed any abnormality, just staring at the situation of the armor at the moment. The armor in flight flew a full 10 miles away, and the first thunder tribulation finally began to descend. Unlike the artifact spirit tribulation that Yang Chen had seen before, more than 100 artifact spirits did not appear, and the thunder tribulation fell directly on the armor. Boom! The violent explosion spread hundreds of miles away, and the super-strong thunder tribulation triggered by more than 100 artifact spirits at the same time broke out solidly, and even the sealing formation barrier that surrounded the entire demon continent shook slightly. At this time, Yang Chen noticed that the position of the armor at the moment was just on the edge of the sealing formation barrier. Obviously, this was done consciously by Li Cheng. Otherwise, with Li Cheng's control, there would be no mistake of accidentally placing it here. Yes, just take this opportunity to help you, so that you don't have to work hard in the future. When Yang Chen looked over, Li Cheng nodded briskly. More than 100 tribulation masters plus the power of the heavenly tribulation is enough to blow up this formation. Yang Chen had told Li Cheng about his plan on the demon continent before, so it was not surprising that Li Cheng knew what Yang Chen was going to do. Now Li Cheng frankly said that he wanted to help Yang Chen solve the trouble, so that Yang Chen would not have to owe a favor and hire a master for it. Yang Chen also had an indescribable feeling in his heart. However, it was clear that the power of the thunder tribulation alone was not enough to collapse the formation that surrounded the entire demon continent. The invisible barrier seemed to only shake violently a few times within a certain range, and then there was no more movement. In this regard, Yang Chen was not in a hurry at all. The real time to exert his strength was when he faced the wind tribulation, and now he didn't have to worry at all. On the contrary, Yang Chen had to worry about the huge power of more than 100 wind tribulation superimposed together, whether the armor could survive it. Both Gao Yu and Gong Sunling were involved in the process of refining the armor, and they attached great importance to the tribulation of the armor. Their eyes were almost staring at the other side without blinking, for fear of missing something. Even when Yang Chen and Li Cheng were talking, their eyes did not leave the armor, but their ears perked up and listened to a few words. Others don't know the power of more than 100 wind tribulation superimposed, but Yang Chen was very clear in his heart. Unless the strength of those tool spirits reached at least the second grade of human immortal, it was estimated that they could successfully survive that kind of heavenly tribulation. But could Li Cheng really train more than 100 tool spirits who had not yet reached the level of crossing tribulation to that point in just 50 years? Watching the thunder tribulation fall one by one, soon, the 9 thunder tribulation were easily passed. As soon as the tribulation cloud dispersed, it began to condense again. This time, it was the Yin fire tribulation. The power of the Yin fire tribulation was at least 100 times greater than that of the thunder tribulation. Every Yin fire could make the outer formation barrier shake violently, as if the barrier would shatter under such a violent vibration in the next moment. With the distance between Yang Chen and the armor, it was basically inevitable that they would be enveloped in the scope of the heavenly tribulation. However, Yang Chen had a way to avoid it. Moreover, this large-scale heavenly tribulation was just enough for him to absorb a lot of heavenly tribulation chi, which was used to refine the 7 emotions and 6 desires pill. Although these pills were basically not used by Yang Chen's family, they were very good things for the disciples of the sect or for sale. It's a bit interesting. Seeing Yang Chen quietly absorbing the heavenly tribulation chi, Li Cheng had never seen and never knew that Yang Chen had such a set, and he nodded again and again. Under the gaze of the 4 people, the 9 fire tribulation was also passed without any danger. Basically, so far the armor had more power to spare. Thinking about it, it was originally going to cross the wind tribulation, it would not capsize in the fire tribulation. Finally, the tribulation cloud in the sky condensed again, and the wind tribulation began to descend. Chapter 1485. Compared with the huge momentum of the thunder tribulation and fire tribulation, the movement of the wind tribulation was like an inconspicuous little thing. Without even a sound, it fell silently. However, the power of the heavens tribulation was no trivial matter. The first wind tribulation directly wrapped the entire armor in the invisible wind. The armor didn't seem to have changed much, but the barrier of the ceiling formation was quietly blown open a small hole. Under the protection of Yang Chen, none of the 4 were affected by the heavens tribulation, and the situation here could be seen clearly. As soon as the small hole was opened, Yang Chen was a little shocked on the spot. He thought that it would take dozens of supreme masters to break this ceiling formation, but now it seemed that there was no need at all. It was a critical moment now. Yang Chen carefully absorbed the aura of the heavens tribulation while paying attention to the situation of the armor. The weapon spirit's tribulation didn't seem to interfere with it for the time being, but it was better to avoid accidents as much as possible. The second wind tribulation, the third wind tribulation, until the 7th wind tribulation, the armor had been floating there from beginning to end, rotating slowly. There was no other change except for the slight change in color with each heavens tribulation. On the contrary, the ceiling formation on the periphery had not only been broken open, but the wind tribulation had directly blown away dozens of miles long. The formation that had originally wrapped the entire demon continent had the first break point except for the entrance. At this point, Yang Chen's heart had completely returned to his stomach. It was no longer a problem for the armor to survive this super heavens tribulation. What Yang Chen cared about was whether the last 2 wind tribulation could completely break the ceiling formation. Li Cheng was still the powerful Li Cheng, capable of doing what others couldn't. At least Yang Chen didn't have such means. In just 50 years, not to mention letting more than 100 weapon spirits cross the tribulation at the same time, it was still the heavens tribulation with superimposed power. Like a chain reaction, when the 8th wind tribulation blew the barrier of the ceiling formation away for more than 100 miles, the invisible barrier suddenly began to shatter. Starting from the fracture on both sides, the cracking sound continued, and soon it spread to thousands of miles away. The sound of caca continued, starting along the coastline of the demon continent, collapsing all the way to farther places. On the other side, the 9th wind tribulation had arrived. This time, the armor was no longer as still as before. Instead, it suddenly burst forth with a dazzling light. Even if the cultivation base was as strong as Yang Chen, Gao Yu and Gong Sunling, in the face of this strong light, they had to close their eyes tightly, until the strong light that could be seen through the eyelids disappeared, and then they opened their eyes again. The sky had already begun to return to normal, and the tribulation clouds had disappeared without a trace, revealing a large expanse of clear sky. The armor was still the same as before, quietly floating in the air, slowly rotating. Even its color had returned to its original color, and there seemed to be no change. Separated by such a distance, Yang Chen could feel the kind of aura coming from the armor, like that of a hermit in the deep mountains. At first glance, it was definitely an extremely ordinary and slightly shabby armor, which was not worthy of having more than 100 tribulation spirits. Sister-in-law said that you might like this style. Li Cheng looked at the armor that had already passed the tribulation and explained casually. The sister-in-law in his mouth, of course, referred to Gao Yu. All the clothes and decorations on Yang Chen's body now were done by Gao Yu. Even the design of this armor was no exception. Thank you, big brother. Yang Chen thanked Li Cheng again, but his big hand had already held the small hands of Gao Yu and Gong Sunling together. There was no need to say thank you between husband and wife. Gao Yu's empty hand waved, and the armor in the distance flew up and quickly came to this side. After a while, the armor was in the hands of Gao Yu. Gao Yu stroked the armor with her delicate hand, and carefully explored it with her spiritual awareness, as if checking for any flaws. After a while, the armor was put on the shoulder of Yang Chen. As soon as it touched Yang Chen's body, the armor suddenly began to deform, like a living thing. It quickly opened a few holes, and saw Yang Chen's body wrapped in it. Then there was a rapid deformation, and it returned to the original appearance of the armor. This was a half-body armor, which only wrapped Yang Chen's body, and his arms and legs were exposed. Because the size could be adjusted at any time, it was very fitting. Wearing it on Yang Chen's body, it just made Yang Chen's huge body more and more sturdy. Seeing Yang Chen put on the armor, Gong Suanling's mouth quietly cracked, her small hand struggled and broke free from Yang Chen's hand, and then, a dozen ordinary magic weapons went to Yang Chen's face. Yang Chen stood in the same place and didn't move. A dozen ordinary magic weapons couldn't even break his skin that was tempered by the yellow turban strongman body refining technique. Gong Suanling's move was obviously to test the power of the armor. Without waiting for the dozen magic weapons to touch Yang Chen, when they were almost 2 feet away from him, in all directions on the armor, more than a dozen sword shadows burst out and directly cut those magic weapons. Without any mishap, the dozen or so magic treasures directly exploded into powder and fell to the ground. Yang Chen's body was unscathed. The strongest defense is still offense. Li Qing said with a smile on the side, all the defensive actions of this armor are actually offensive. Although you can't use the defensive function for the time being, it is also a good gift to see which sister-in-law needs it in the future. Li Qing has long been aware of Yang Chen's abnormal defense. This magic weapon was not intended for Yang Chen's protection, but to solve the trouble of the immortal beheading stage. As for how Yang Chen would use it after solving the problem, it was Yang Chen's own business. There is a cultivation method here. After cultivating, you can control these tribulation weapon spirits. Li Qing directly handed over 2 pieces of jade slips and introduced them one by one. This one is to use these weapon spirits to arrange a simple virtual array, and at the same time refine the entrance of the immortal beheading stage. It can improve the efficiency by hundreds of times. I believe that within 200 or 300 years, if you go all out, refining the entrance of the immortal beheading stage will not be a problem. That fire seed is a bit special. Without waiting for Yang Chen to speak, Li Qing had already rushed to continue, as if he wanted to say what he wanted to say at once, not leaving any chance for Yang Chen. When absorbing and fusing, first use the 3rd fire method, then use the 4th fire method, the last 2 combined. The time may be a little longer, 20 or 30 years. After absorbing, it will only be good for your alchemy, there is no harm. Chapter 1486. Listening to Li Cheng's words, Yang Chen was shocked for a while. The strongest fire seed in the mortal world was only a 7th grade fire seed, and Yang Chen has already absorbed 3 kinds of 7th grade fire seed. Even if it was a 7th grade fire seed that he was not familiar with these 3 as a foundation, no matter how he absorbed it, it would not take more than 15 years. What he never expected was that the fire seed given by Li Qing needed to be divided into 3 steps to be fully absorbed, and it also required at least twice the time of pure yang true fire and pure yin true fire. What kind of fire seed was this? How could it have such a strong performance? Yang Chen never doubted that Li Cheng would want to use this kind of fire seed to murder himself. In times of crisis, Yang Chen had the means to save his life. Not to mention anything else, the merit book was enough for Yang Chen to get through this situation safely. Others didn't know that Yang Chen had the merit book, but Li Cheng was very clear about it, because the merit book itself was given to Yang Chen by Li Cheng. Therefore, if it was not for the purpose of murdering Yang Chen, then there was only one remaining reason, that was to test whether Yang Chen had really learned a lesson this time. Such a test may be suspicion or vigilance. Of course, Li Cheng didn't need to guard against Yang Chen. Then perhaps it could also be simply attributed to concern for Yang Chen. In the end, Yang Chen was still Li Cheng's sworn brother. From the perspective of concern, it was not too much for the elder brother to teach the younger brother a lesson. However, with Yang Chen's understanding of Li Cheng, it seemed that there was no need for him to carry out such a care test. Some words could be directly said, there was no need to arrange such twists and turns. In this case, there was another profound meaning in such an arrangement. When Yang Chen wanted to deliberately test a person, if it was not out of concern, not out of precaution, then it was because he wanted to use this person to do something to see if he was suitable. What does Li Cheng want with Yang Chen? Yang Chen couldn't think of anything at the moment, but judging from his previous behavior, it should be something big. Once Yang Chen needed to act, it was a critical moment. Even Li Cheng needed to be so cautious to test Yang Chen. What kind of big event was he plotting? After staying here for 50 years, there are some things that need to be done quickly. While Yang Chen was thinking, Li Cheng didn't give Yang Chen time to think and said directly, "I should go too." "Big brother, you're leaving?" Yang Chen was stunned, but he immediately felt relieved. He and this sworn brother of his had never spent a long time together. This time, Li Cheng had gone into seclusion to refine the combination magic treasure, which was already the longest. After absorbing the fire seed, there shouldn't be anything else on your side. Li Cheng nodded and cupped his hands at Yang Chen. "I'll go back and settle down. It's time for me to ascend. The next time we meet, it should be in the spirit realm. Little brother, see you later." "Big brother, see you later." Yang Chen also cupped his hands at Li Cheng, and the two women beside him bowed to Li Cheng and followed their husband to say goodbye to Li Cheng. Li Cheng left in a straightforward manner. Cultivators did not have so many complicated and trivial formalities and were wishy-washy. After saying that, he got up directly, summoned his iron-winged eagle and left. In a short while, he disappeared from the sight of Yang Chen and the two women. Yang Chen was also not the kind of person who liked to be sad about parting. Watching Li Cheng's figure disappear, he immediately cheered up and began to think about the next things. The combination magic treasure had been completed, and Li Cheng had also given him the method to use it. In any case, the entrance to the Immortal beheading platform must be refined, otherwise Yang Chen himself would not be able to ascend. Another thing was an unexpected surprise for Yang Chen. He thought that it would take at least another 50 years to lift the outermost blockade formation of the demon continent, so that everyone would be exempted from the pain of having to make a big heart oath. This time, with the help of Li Cheng, this problem was directly solved. The shattering of those blockades was definitely a chain reaction, and he believed that the top 10 sect would soon discover these changes. Fortunately, the impact of this formation on the cultivators was at most the big heart oath, but the greater benefits were for mortals. At least mortals could go to the sea to make a living, instead of being trapped on the shore. Let's go back and talk about it. Yang Chen didn't have time to ask Gao Yu and Gong Sunling what they learned when accompanying Li Cheng to retreat. It was important to rush back to the Chunyang Palace first. Such a big movement here must have attracted the attention of the patrolling disciples of the Chunyang Palace, and they must be instructed. On the way back, Yang Chun heard the whole process of Li Cheng's retreat from Gao Yu and Gong Sunling. From Gao Yu and Gong Sunling's mouths, Yang Chun heard the two women's worship of Li Cheng's refining level. Gao Yu was already one of the few refining masters in the mortal world, but after seeing Li Cheng's techniques and incredible ideas, she couldn't help but admire him. Li Cheng didn't hide anything. Every step he did, he had to explain it to Gao Yu, so that she knew what he was doing. More than 100 super tool spirits could reach the point of crossing their tribulation in just 50 years. In addition to Li Cheng's peerless technique, there was another important reason, which was also the reason that Yang Chun couldn't understand. The massive spiritual liquid left by the Taishaman played a key role. In just 50 years, under Li Cheng's powerful control, those super tool spirits absorbed almost half of the spiritual liquid. If it was calculated according to the spiritual power needed for a single cultivator to cross the tribulation, the spiritual liquid absorbed by the tool spirits was enough for thousands of ordinary cultivators to ascend. Now that it was concentrated in more than 100 tool spirits, it was no wonder that those guys could easily withstand the tribulation that was hundreds of times more powerful. Of course, a lot of spiritual liquid was also consumed in the refining process. Originally, these needed to consume the original spiritual liquid that Yang Chun collected with great effort. Fortunately, there was the stock of the Taishaman, so that Yang Chen's collection could be preserved. More than 100 super magic weapons were completely changed at once. Even if Yang Chun had put on the armor, he couldn't see any of the original magic weapons. Now, even if Yang Chun swaggered in the armor and appeared in front of the people of the Taishaman Xiantian sect, he didn't have to worry about being seen through by them. The set of tools in Gao Yu's hands was also reforged by Li Cheng, making it more exquisite and easier to use. This move alone made Gao Yu admire him very much. Gao Yu had to use that set of tools to refine other people's magic weapons without being contaminated with her own aura. Li Cheng, on the other hand, could refine them casually, but he never had such trouble. He was a master among masters. Chapter 1487. Naturally, after Li Cheng's guidance for decades, Gao Yu's refining level had advanced by leaps and bounds. If Gao Yu could only be regarded as in the top 200 of the mortal world's refining masters, now she could break into the top 10. Not only that, Gao Yu's Emperor Qi seemed to be strongly enhanced and condensed around Li Cheng. The effect of 50 years of cultivation was even comparable to Gao Yu's 100 years of cultivation. Gao Yu's spirit power cultivation base at this time has easily entered the level of the late Deshang stage. Husband, this is what Big Brother Li Cheng left for you. After Gao Yu told Yang Chun about her harvest, Gong Sunling immediately gave Yang Chun 3 familiar magic weapons. What is this? Yang Chun was stunned. There was something that Li Cheng wouldn't give in person. Did he still need Gong Sunling to hand it over? These are the 3 medicine gardens that Big Brother Li Cheng found when he subdued those magic weapons. Gong Sunling explained with a smile. The tool spirit inside has been refined into the armor by Big Brother Li. The medicinal materials in the 3 medicine gardens have been taken by Big Brother Li and the rest will be given to you. Yang Chun suddenly realized that Li Cheng was afraid that he would forget it, so he gave it to Gong Sunling in advance. Looking at these 3 medicine gardens, Yang Chun also remembered his own bottle medicine garden. A Zhu and a Bai were trying their best to refine and integrate the dragon gourd, and now it was almost halfway through. At this rate, it would take at least 50 years to fully absorb and integrate. It must be said that the power of the dragon race's magic weapon was rare in the world. Both a Zhu and a Bai were tool spirits who have passed the wind tribulation. The two teamed up to refine a dragon gourd, and it took more than 100 years. In the 3 medicine gardens, it was also filled with countless medicinal materials that made Yang Chun salivate. Taishaman's accumulation of hundreds of thousands of years, almost all the medicinal materials were concentrated in these 3 medicine gardens. Even if Big Brother Li Cheng took half of it, The remaining half was enough to make a super-rich person like Yang Chen feel excited, as if he had won the lottery. These 3 medicine gardens were easy to deal with. After a Zhu and a Bai merged the purified bottle medicine garden with the dragon gourd, they would absorb the space of the 3 medicine gardens. There was no difficulty except that it took a little time. In any case, Yang Chen had to spend a lot of time refining the entrance to the Immortal slaying platform, so he wasn't afraid that he wouldn't have time to wait. Gong Xuanling's harvest was relatively small. She was mainly responsible for logistics for Li Qing and Gao Yu. Although it was not a big problem for the 2 masters of the Deshang stage to completely avoid food for 50 years, it was clear that Li Qing was the same hedonist as Yang Chen. Even though he was working non-stop, he still had to take time out every day to enjoy the fine wine and delicacies that Gong Sunling had meticulously prepared. The refining techniques that Li Qing pointed out to Gao Yu, Gong Sunling was usually not interested in them. Her research direction was in the field of formations, and Li Qing also knew this. However, for Gong Xuanling's guidance, Li Qing did not give her much advice on the formation, but taught her a new sacrificial refining technique, which Gong Sunling used to sacrificial refine the mountain river geographical map. Now Gong Sunling was no longer afraid of adding more masters to the mountain river geographical map. With Professor Li Qing's technique, Gong Sunling could easily distinguish the spiritual power in the mountain river geographical map, and then use it separately, and there would be no more problems like the previous spiritual power was not pure enough. Both women had gains. Of course, the one who gained the most was Yang Chen. This super magic weapon was worth hundreds of pieces. In this regard, Yang Chen had already made a decision. As soon as he refined the entrance to the Immortal Executioner's stage, he would give the armor to Gao Yu. Gao Yu still lacked a body protection magic weapon, and this armor was just right. The first thing Yang Chen did when he returned to the Pure Yang Side Palace was to summon the elders on duty in the Pure Yang Side Palace and instructed them to inform the top 10 sect that the blockade formation on the periphery of the demon continent had been broken, so that they could make early adjustments. Then he took Gao Yu and Gong Sunling to retreat again. There were 2 main purposes of this retreat. One was to master the method of controlling the spirit and let the tool spirits start to help refine the entrance to the Immortal Executioner's stage. The second was to absorb and integrate the white fire seed according to Professor Li Qing's method. The first goal was very simple. Under the spiritual awareness of Yang Chen's Earth Immortal Second Grade, more than 100 super tool spirits were easily controlled by Yang Chen. Then, according to the records on the jade slip left by Li Qing, he controlled these super tool spirits to arrange 4 virtual arrays, which were located in the east, south, west, and north directions of the entrance to the Immortal Executioner's stage, and began to refine. At this time, the spiritual liquid left by the Taishaman played a key role. Refining the super magic weapon, Li Qing consumed half of it, and the remaining half was used by Yang Chen to refine the entrance to the Immortal Executioner's stage. To complete the refining of the entrance to the Immortal Executioner's stage, the spiritual power required was absolutely an unimaginable and jaw-dropping number. When necessary, Yang Chen's spiritual liquid would also be used. Not at all. After the super tool spirits began to work, Yang Chen temporarily shifted his attention. It would be a long process and he would not pay attention to it for a while. The absorption and integration of the white flame was also a difficult and laborious thing, and it was related to the refining of the longevity pill. It could not be sloppy. At first, it was natural to absorb the white flame into the profound spirit furnace. Even with Li Qing's previous reminder, coupled with the dragon spirit's control of the flame, and Yang Chen's ability to control the fire, this simple process still took Yang Chen almost 3 years. This time alone has exceeded the record of the profound spirit furnace's absorption of the fire seed. Even if all the 7th grade fire seeds were added up, it would not take so long. The dragon spirit was even shocked to almost lose control of the profound spirit furnace after carefully touching this kind of flame. The more this was the case, the higher the expectations in Yang Chen's heart were. Such a powerful fire seed, after being absorbed by himself, would only have greater benefits for himself. According to the method Li Qing reminded, Yang Chen began to use the method of controlling the third fire to absorb the white fire seed. This process lasted for 10 years. Next was the fourth fire method, which also took 10 years. At this time, Yang Chen discovered that the white flame did not seem to be a kind of flame at all. What was absorbed with the third fire method was the white third fire, and what was absorbed with the fourth fire method was the white fourth fire. It looked like a white fire seed, and it seemed that it was not just a simple one. No wonder Li Qing said that it would take 20 or 30 years. The first 2 steps alone had already consumed 20 years. The remaining step was even more difficult and required 2 techniques to be used at the same time. Fortunately, Yang Chen has already had the experience of controlling the 2 fire dragons of the yin-yang heaven-burning fire for hundreds of years at the same time. The control of this step was not as difficult as imagined. The next third step was the process of merging the white third fire and the white fourth fire. Yang Chen meticulously followed Li Qing's instructions and carried out the final step of refining and absorption. Chapter 1488. Up to now, the process of Yang Chen's absorption of the fire seed was still normal. It was exactly the same as the method of absorbing thousands of times before. There was no change. This process continued until the process of the white fire seed's third absorption was about to be completed, and there was a sudden change. In fact, strictly speaking, the absorption had been completed here. All the fire seeds had been integrated into the yin-yang heaven-burning fire under the control of Yang Chen, but they entered the 2 yin-yang fire dragons separately, and this time they entered the 2 fire dragons at the same time. The 2 fire dragons seemed to be ignited suddenly. Yes, it could indeed be described with the word ignited. The fire dragons, which were originally composed of flames, at this moment, all the flames began to erupt violently. From the feeling of Yang Chen, it was clear that they were ignited by the white flame. Because the yin-yang fire dragon and the yang fire dragon had been integrated with the white flame, at this moment, Yang Chen's yin-yang heaven-burning fire was actually out of Yang Chen's control for a moment, and was triggered by the white flame. Fortunately, this situation was only a trivial moment, and then it seemed to return to Yang Chen's side again. At the same time, the white flame of the fusion of the 2 fire dragons suddenly turned into a white fireball. The huge fireball appeared not far in front of Yang Chen's forehead, burning fiercely. The yin-yang fire dragon and the yang fire dragon quietly emerged from both sides of Yang Chen's body, and then seemed to be attracted by the white fireball, and went straight to the fireball. The 2 long bodies hit the white fireball, and then suddenly drilled into the fireball. In front of Yang Chen, there was only the huge white fireball, and the 2 fire dragons had disappeared without a trace. But in Yang Chen's sea of consciousness, the 2 fire dragons were still flying around vividly, without any change. Through his spiritual awareness, Yang Chen could still clearly feel the existence of the yin-yang fire dragon and the yang fire dragon. They seemed to have entered a magical space, and there was a mysterious force in this space that was tempting them to make a series of changes. The sudden situation did not make Yang Chen panic. The white fire seed was given by Li Qing, and Yang Chen firmly believed that Li Qing had no need to use such means to harm him. If he wanted to kill Yang Chen, Li Qing probably wouldn't need such a method. Therefore, this white flame must have a deeper meaning. At this time, Yang Chen needed to deal with everything calmly. The yin fire dragon and yang fire dragon were changing. At first, Yang Chen was unable to sense the changes, but after the time it took for an incense stick to burn, Yang Chen could clearly sense the changes. All the fire seeds, all the fusion of the yin-yang heaven-burning fire that Yang Chen had absorbed before, were actually all upgraded. The first-grade fire seed was upgraded to the second-grade fire seed, the second-grade fire seed was upgraded to the third-grade fire seed, the sixth-grade fire seed was upgraded to the seventh-grade fire seed, and the 7th grade fire seed was also undergoing incredible changes. After realizing this, Yang Chen couldn't believe his feelings. But the clear changes in his spiritual awareness and the familiarity of the flame made Yang Chen believe it. The fire seed was actually upgrading spontaneously. How was this possible? In the outside world, there were some unique and accidental circumstances that would only happen. For example, when Master Ancestor Wang Yong was crossing the Yin fire tribulation, he used the Yin fire to quench his own Qilin fire and successfully upgraded the 5th grade Qilin fire to the 6th grade Qilin heavenly fire. This was the only case that Yang Chen had seen with his own eyes. Even when his master Gao Yu's Purple Heart Fire was upgraded to the Purple Heart Profound Fire, it was done by absorbing the Purple Heart Profound Fire, a high-level fire seed. But now Yang Chen could be said to have done nothing. Just because of the white flame, all the fire seeds began to upgrade spontaneously. This kind of thing was really beyond the scope of Yang Chen's cognition. Even with his experience as a great principal golden immortal, he could not imagine that there would be such a magical fire seed that could upgrade all other fire seed. Generally speaking, if the level of a fire seed could be upgraded, then at least the white fire seed would be at least one level higher than the upgraded fire seed. But now, even the 7th grade fire seed had begun to upgrade. What level was the white fire seed? What kind of fire seed was it? Yang Chen himself could not say. From the performance, the white fire seed seemed to be only a 7th grade fire seed. If Yang Chen only regarded the white fire seed as an ordinary 7th grade fire seed at the beginning, whether he absorbed it as a 3rd fire or a 4th fire, there would be no such magical change now. He couldn't pass Li Cheng's test. This white fire seed was just an ordinary 7th grade fire seed. Although it also belonged to the top fire seed in the mortal world, compared to now, it was definitely like picking sesame seeds and throwing watermelons. Fortunately, Yang Chen learned his lesson and was not so rash and greedy, and waited for Li Cheng's guidance. Now this scene should be Li Cheng's reward for himself. The upgrade of all the fire seeds was by no means a simple matter. Yang Chen needs to carefully control the changes of each kind of fire seed. Although the upgrade itself was not under Yang Chen's control, the process of the upgrade was still under Yang Chen's control. First easy and then difficult, this kind of thing has been done by Yang Chen when he absorbed and integrated the Yin-Yang Heaven Burning Fire, and the same was true for the upgrade. One by one, he first controlled the lowest level 1st grade fire seed to complete this change, and then the 2nd grade fire seed, and so on. The whole process, under the control of Yang Chen, happened in an orderly manner, and the Yin-Yang Heaven Burning Fire was also quietly undergoing earth-shaking changes. Originally, after the Yin-Yang Heaven Burning Fire absorbed the 7th grade fire seed, it should have already surpassed the 7th grade and may even reach the 8th grade fire seed, but at this moment, Yang Chen did not know what grade of fire seed the Yin-Yang Heaven Burning Fire was. Of course, the grade of the white fire seed, Yang Chen has become more and more confused. Yang Chen thought that the last step would take up to 10 years to complete, but now it seems that 10 years is far from enough. Even if the time for each kind of fire seed to upgrade was not too long, but so many fire seeds from low to high added up the accumulation time, and it was almost another 10 years. When the pure Yang True Fire, Pure Yin True Fire and Spirit Devouring Dragon Fire were finally promoted again under the influence of the white fire seed, the whole process also reached the final juncture. At the moment of completion, the Yin Fire Dragon and the Yang Fire Dragon spontaneously drilled out of the white fireball. The two fire dragons began to fly up and down around the white fireball. No matter how the long dragon body twisted, the two dragon heads were always facing the direction of the white fireball. Two dragons playing with a pearl. These words naturally appeared in Yang Chen's mind. Chapter 1489. The two dragons flew up and down around a white flame bead. What was this if not two dragons playing with a bead? Even Yang Chen did not expect that there would be such a change. Correspondingly, in Yang Chen's sea of consciousness, there was also a white flame bead. The Yin fire dragon and the Yang fire dragon were like the outside, flying around the dragon bead, as if there was a fatal attraction on the flame bead. The flame ball with unparalleled expansion force directly expanded Yang Chen's sea of consciousness again. The three purities' secret art spontaneously began to run, and the cultivation base of the spiritual awareness surged again. From the second grade of the Earth Immortal realm to the third grade of the Earth Immortal realm, it stopped at the realm of the fourth grade of the Earth Immortal realm. The Yang fire dragon was originally faint and almost invisible cyan, but at this moment it became completely white. The dark purple of the Yin fire dragon, after a change, became pure black. The two fire dragons, one black and one white, were unusually eye-catching. Under the stimulation of this change, the third fire and fourth fire spiritual power were like corn grains that had been tossed in a pressure cooker for a long time. As soon as the pattern of two dragons playing with a bead was formed, it immediately began to release pressure and began to expand into popcorn. The two spiritual powers soared in an instant, straight to the fifth grade of the human immortal realm, and even Yang Chen's body became more stressed with this sudden surge of spiritual power. The great Yin and Yang five elements' secret art could almost be said to be linked together. The rise of the fire attribute spiritual power directly led to a sharp rise in other attributes of spiritual power. The peak of the Dashang stage, the first grade of the human immortal realm, the second grade of the human immortal realm, and it stopped at the third grade of the human immortal realm. It was just a few decades of effort, purely speaking of the absorption of a white fire seed, it brought about such a strong overall improvement in the spiritual power realm. Even the knowledgeable Yang Chen could not help but be shocked. Fortunately, Yang Chen's memory had long had the cultivation experience of the fifth grade of the human immortal realm, so there was no accident in this situation. The movement here was so big that it had already alarmed Gao Yu and Gong Sunling, who had been waiting for Yang Chen to finish his retreat. Fortunately, the two women were experienced masters and did not directly rush in. Instead, they first used their divine sense to explore and found that Yang Chen did not have any problems, so they were relieved. "I'm fine." Yang Chen immediately noticed the two women's spiritual consciousness and immediately told the two women not to worry. Later, he resisted the excitement and first cultivated the three purities' secret art, great Yin-Yang five elements secret art and the yellow turban strongman body refining technique to relieve the pressure in the body caused by the surge of spiritual power. Then he slowly got up. "Husband!" Gao Yu and Gong Sunling couldn't believe their eyes. With their current knowledge and vision, how could they not see what level Yang Chen's cultivation had reached? However, in just 40 years, he suddenly changed from an ordinary master of the late Dashang stage to a fifth-grade human immortal powerhouse, which was really unacceptable to the two women in a short time. This kind of breakthrough that did not follow common sense, would it bring any trouble to their husband? "I'm fine, Big Brother Li Cheng's kind of fire seed is too overbearing." When Yang Chen came out and saw the expressions of the two women, he knew what they were worried about and immediately explained. The two women had seen with their own eyes the process of Li Cheng easily sending more than 100 super tool spirits to cross their tribulation. 4 things with Li Cheng's participation, they would soon be able to accept it. However, they were still a little shocked. In the past, their husband had already performed like an evildoer. They did not expect that their husband's sworn brother was the real evildoer. Well, it was a bit inaccurate to describe him as an evildoer. It should be said that he was an evildoer among evildoers. Although he had just come out, the moment he saw Gao Yu, Yang Chen suddenly had an uncontrollable impulse in his heart. Since the white flame could upgrade all the fire seeds in his own yin-yang heaven-burning fire, then it should not be a big problem to upgrade Gao Yu's purple heart profound fire to the 7th grade purple heart heavenly fire, right? A Ling informed Shanshan and little Shui to come over. Immediately, Yang Chen ordered Gong Sunling. When there was a good thing, he would think of Gao Yu first, but Yang Chen was not so biased. He immediately asked Gong Sunling to call Shi Shanshan and Sun Qingshu. Yang Chen's spiritual awareness cultivation base improved a bit too fast, rushing straight to the 4th grade of the Earth Immortal realm. This kind of improvement speed had already vaguely exceeded Yang Chen's control. He originally thought that there would be no crisis of spiritual awareness splitting in the mortal world, but now it seems that there are faint signs of it, and it must be solved immediately. He called his wives to his side, and everyone cultivated the Supreme Mystery Yin-Yang Heart Sutra together, which could not only improve the spiritual awareness cultivation base of his wives, but also alleviate the troubles of Yang Chen, killing 2 birds with 1 stone. As for Shi Wushuang and the Murong sisters, they were concubines. Before Yang Chen ascended, Yang Chen did not intend to have spiritual awareness double cultivation with them. First, his wives and concubines could not be treated equally. Second, Tao Junki had already ascended. Since he wanted to treat them equally, he would let Shi Wushuang and the Murong sisters join in the spiritual awareness double cultivation with Tao Junki. Ling, when Shanshan and Little Shui arrive, you come in together. Yang Chen left a sentence to Gong Sunling. Regardless of the fact that he had just come out of seclusion, he directly put his hands around Gao Yu's waist and entered the seclusion room again. Gao Yu didn't know what Yang Chen was going to do, but her husband brought her in so overbearingly, Gao Yu did not struggle. After not seeing each other for decades, Yang Chen naturally enjoyed a good time with Gao Yu first, and then held her to start the double cultivation. As soon as she ran the Supreme Mystery Yin-Yang Heart Sutra, Gao Yu was shocked. Her husband's spiritual awareness cultivation base had far exceeded her cognitive range and reached a peak she had never seen before. Not to mention that she had never seen it before, she had never even heard of it. When running, Gao Yu only felt that she was like a boat drifting in the wind and waves, and she was almost directly submerged by the stormy waves of Yang Chen's spiritual awareness. Fortunately, with the protection and help of Yang Chen, after getting used to the beginning of the turbulence, it finally began to slowly get on track. Before, Gao Yu's spiritual awareness cultivation base was already at the 2nd grade of the human immortal, but at this moment, under the guidance of Yang Chen, the human immortal 3rd grade, the human immortal 4th grade, the human immortal 5th grade, and finally the human immortal 6th grade barely stopped. Even at this point, Gao Yu could still feel the unattainable feeling of Yang Chen. She thought that she could not completely stabilize her husband's spiritual awareness by herself. Fortunately, she still had 3 sisters to share the pressure. Gao Yu thought so in her heart, but she couldn't help but start to think about whether she should also let Yang Chen take Shi Wushuang and the Murong sisters with him. If Yang Chen keeps improving at this speed, the 4 of them may not be able to solve Yang Chen's problems. Calm down and control your life source, Fire Seed. After finishing, Yang Chen did not let go of Gao Yu, and still held Gao Yu tightly in his arms. Do as I say. Chapter 1490. Leaning in Yang Chen's arms, Gao Yu did not have time to experience the feeling of her spiritual awareness skyrocketing, and was arranged by Yang Chen to do a new job. For Yang Chen's words, Gao Yu would hardly disobey. Even if Gao Yu was the master of Yang Chen, at this moment, how could she put on the airs of a master? Although she did not know what Yang Chen wanted her to release her own life fire seed, Gao Yu believed that Yang Chen would not let her do this for no reason, so she obediently released her purple heart profound fire. No matter what you see next, don't be surprised. Before Yang Chen started, he first comforted Gao Yu and gave her a reassuring pill in advance. Do what I say, don't be nervous. Gao Yu nodded slightly and leaned her body into Yang Chen's arms, in this way to tell Yang Chen her attachment to Yang Chen. Under Gao Yu's puzzled eyes, Yang Chen's left hand held Gao Yu's slender waist. His right hand slowly raised, extended his index finger, and slowly pointed to the purple flame in front of Gao Yu. From Gao Yu's point of view, she could not see anything in Yang Chen's hand, and Yang Chen did not want her to see it at the moment. What Gao Yu saw was that Yang Chen had stretched out his finger and pointed to his own life fire seed. A heart-palpitating change suddenly began to happen from the place where Yang Chen's finger was pointed, and then quickly spread to the entire fire seed. The sudden change made Gao Yu almost lose her mind, and her own life fire seed became several times more violent in an instant, so that Gao Yu could not control it at this moment. Calm down, don't be afraid, slowly accept and absorb it little by little. Yang Chen's voice sounded like a curse, and behind Gao Yu, it gave Gao Yu infinite courage. This feeling was more secure than the shock that Li Qing brought to Gao Yu. Following Yang Chen's instructions, Gao Yu began to carefully touch the transformed life fire seed. Instinctively, she understood that after being touched by Yang Chen, the Purple Heart Profound Fire was no longer the Purple Heart Profound Fire. Looking at the appearance of the fire seed now, it seemed to have become a higher grade 7 Purple Heart Heavenly Fire. How was this possible? Gao Yu's first reaction was that it was impossible. However, he immediately dispelled this thought. Her husband had never joked about such an important matter, and apart from big brother Li Qing, only her husband would have such a monstrous performance. Since the fire seed had changed, it must have become stronger, not weaker. This was the Purple Heart Heavenly Flame. After confirming this, although Gao Yu was a little surprised, she immediately calmed down. With the support of her husband, what trouble would there be with the Purple Heart Heavenly Flame? The last time Yang Chen guided Tao Junkie to absorb the pure Yin True Fire seemed to be still in front of her. It was also a 7th grade fire seed. Since Yang Chen could let Tao Junkie absorb it safely, then Yang Chen would only be more cautious and safer. With this understanding, there was nothing to worry about. Yang Chen actually had the fire seed of the Purple Heart Heavenly Flame. However, directly absorbing the fire seed of the Purple Heart Heavenly Flame and upgrading her own Purple Heart Profound Fire had different effects for Gao Yu. Just appreciating the feeling of upgrading this kind of fire seed could benefit Gao Yu a lot, not to mention upgrading her own fire seed, which was easier to integrate with Gao Yu than directly absorbing it. Basically, this process would save the life-tempering process after absorbing a new fire seed. Although the time left would not be very long, only a few decades. But for Gao Yu, a few decades was enough for her to do more other things. Gao Yu was very happy and excited. She was happy that her husband had once again brought her a surprise, and he was the first one to give it to her, always putting her first. She was excited that her own cultivation base would also be improved enough. She had just improved her spiritual awareness before, and now her spiritual power realm would also be improved. Under the emotional domination of this complete belief in Yang Chen, Gao Yu showed extraordinary self-confidence. In some nodes that might have been a little difficult for her, Gao Yu's performance was remarkable and almost perfect. It was slightly different from Tao Junkie's absorption of the pure Yin True Fire in the past. At that time, Tao Junkie's life fire seed and the pure Yin True Fire were not completely of the same origin, so it was difficult to absorb it. In addition, Tao Junkie's degree of trust in Yang Chen was far less than that of Gao Yu, so Tao Junkie still let Yang Chen use the merit chapter several times to support herself and successfully absorb the pure Yin True Fire. Now Gao Yu's performance was perfect, and her cooperation with Yang Chen was like a person. In addition, it was to improve her own life fire seed. Under the combination of several factors, Gao Yu did not even let Yang Chen use the merit chapter to protect his body, and successfully upgraded her own Purple Heart Profound Fire to the 7th grade Purple Heart Heavenly Fire. The process of improvement was only a few months, but Gao Yu's spiritual power cultivation base had leaped 1,000 miles. The absorption of the 7th grade fire seed allowed Yang Chen's full attribute spiritual power to improve a small realm. Not to mention Gao Yu's water and fire dual spirit power. When the Purple Heart Heavenly Fire was successfully upgraded, Gao Yu's cultivation base broke through the middle Dashang stage, the late Dashang stage, the peak Dashang stage, the first grade of the human immortal, and directly entered the realm of the second grade of the human immortal. When Yang Chen and Gao Yu lingered again, they both came out of the quiet room and saw Gong Sunling, Shi Shanshan and Sun Qingxue smiling. Big sister and husband eat alone, don't say wait for little sister. Sun Qingxue's cultivation base was now improved, and her mood was also very different. She dared to tease Gao Yu. She opened her mouth and teased, directly making Gao Yu blush. Husband. Shi Shanshan still had a cold face, although in front of Gong Sunling and Sun Qingxue there was no expression of rejection, but it only eased a little. Only when she saw Yang Chen would she show a sincere smile. Husband has been in retreat recently, I have neglected you. Yang Chen first apologized to his wives, and then in the laughter of the women, he hugged the 4 women and began to retreat again. The duration of this closed-door cultivation was relatively short. It was only half a year. During this period, Yang Chen basically did nothing else, except to enjoy the pleasure of fish and water with his wives and double cultivation. He did nothing else. Gong Sunling, Shi Shanshan and Shi Shanshan were also shocked. One by one their spiritual awareness cultivation base was raised to the realm of the 6th grade of the human immortal. Unfortunately, the 3 women did not have the opportunity of the 7th grade fire seed like Gao Yu, and their spiritual power cultivation base still stayed in the original middle Deshang stage. With the qualifications of the 3 women, as long as they cultivate step by step in the following time, it would only take 200 or 300 years to reach the edge of the tribulation. There was no need to worry at all. Chapter 1491. In half a year, Yang Chen's body finally adapted to the 5th grade human immortal cultivation base and no longer felt that huge pressure. Fortunately, Yang Chen's retreat has been in the demon ceiling formation of the pure Yang side palace all these years, otherwise, the heavenly tribulation would have come long ago. Before and after calculating, Yang Chen had been able to refine the longevity pill for almost 100 years. The first 20 years were used to absorb the 6th grade fire seeds, the 3 7th grade fire seeds each took 15 years, and finally the white flame took 40 years to absorb, which was exactly the time promised to the master who was injured at that time. A Yu, a Ling, Shanshan, little Shui, you go to the demon ceiling formation in the core area and hunt those beasts. My husband also needs some devilish beads to refine pills. To refine the longevity pill, Yang Chen, of course, couldn't directly take out the devilish bead above the 5th grade human immortal. Naturally, he also needed a reasonable reason. Don't hold back. The ultimate goal is that the 4 of you join forces to kill the 2nd grade Earth immortal super beast. Over the years, far more than one person has been guessing how Yang Chen would finally deal with the earthly immortal level magical beast in the core demon ceiling formation. How many great masters could only fight against the human immortal level demonic beasts at present, the earthly immortal level? They didn't even think about it. The 4 women also had such a guess, but they all knew how monstrous their husband was, so they just guessed, but they didn't worry about it. Now hearing that Yang Chen actually wanted the 4 of them to join forces to kill the earthly immortal level demonic beast, and even the grade was stated clearly, the 4 women couldn't help but be surprised and happy. The surprise was that Yang Chen would not do it himself, but let them do it. This made the 4 women who were not mentally prepared a little surprised, but they were more happy in their hearts. When Yang Chen first came to the demon continent, he went to the core area, which the 4 women knew. However, at that time, Yang Chen could be said to be scared step by step, and he would almost die. Now that Yang Chen had asked the 4 of them to work together to deal with the beasts, it meant that Yang Chen had absolute confidence in them. They would definitely be able to kill the earthly immortal beast. When he thought about how the 4 of them could actually join forces to fight against a 2nd grade earth immortal beast, even if the beast only relied on its instincts to fight and didn't have much skill, it was still a 2nd grade earth immortal. Just thinking about it made one's blood boil. In the past few years, those beasts below the 5th stage of the human immortal stage, had already been slaughtered by the various sect, and the demonic beads had been harvested in the thousands. Although each of these baleful devil beads was a transcendent grade baleful devil bead, it was not very useful for Yang Chen to refine the prolonging life pill. Yang Chen had said that he wanted a human immortal stage 5 and above. Currently, each sect only had a few supreme experts who could hunt down beasts that were grade 5 human immortal and above. Moreover, he could only deal with one at a time, and it would take a long time. Could be said that it could take a few months to kill a human immortal grade 6th grade beast. It was already very fast. On the side of Chunyang Palace, fortunately, there was Ho Yun, the peak Mahayana stage cultivation, plus the realm of the yellow turban strongman body refining arcane power. He could barely join forces with the old tree demon and compete with a human immortal grade 6th grade beast. Over the course of a few decades, he had barely managed to kill a dozen of them. Others such as Shi Kuei and Xie Sha, plus the new palace master and others, could only watch the battle from a distance and could not come forward at all. If Yang Chen wanted a baleful devil bead above the human immortal grade 5th grade, as long as he said it, it was not known how many people would take the initiative to send it. Even the Chunyang Palace had more than a dozen. But Yang Chen still wanted his wives to do it. This time, it was not to let them hone, but to let them clean up the core area. After such a long time of absorption, the demonic energy on the demon continent had basically been absorbed. Even in the core area, there were only 200 or 300 miles left. If they continued to absorb, those beasts would kill each other. Of course, Yang Chen wouldn't let this happen. How wasteful would it be for the beasts to kill each other? With the 4 women working together, Yang Chen was still very relieved. Not to mention anything else, their protection was absolutely excellent. Sun Qingxue had the Xuanwu shield, and Gong Sunling had the Mountain River geographical map. With these two combined, basically no opponent could hurt them. In addition, once the Emperor's aura was released, even if it was the core beast of the 2nd grade Earth Immortal, it would be suppressed to the human immortal level, dropping a realm. In the past, Gao Yu's cultivation was low. Even if she had the Emperor's aura, it might not be effective against an opponent of the Earth Immortal level. Now that she had absorbed the Purple Heart Heavenly Fire, her cultivation was close to the 2nd grade Earth Immortal, and she was already a standard Supreme Master. The Emperor's aura could definitely affect the Earth Immortal level beasts. In addition, Shi Shanshan's Supreme Pure Yang Sword Qi, after so many years of absorption, condensed into a full attack. Even if it was the Earth Immortal level beasts, they might not be able to take a few of them. Coupled with the tacit understanding of the 4 women, it should not be a problem to clean up the core area. The 4 women didn't stay long, and soon went straight to the core demon seal formation. Gao Yu's cultivation base has reached the supreme level, and Yang Chen naturally taught some of the supreme level masters the method to forcibly suppress their cultivation base. Anyway, they were just on the road. On the demon continent, no one dared to blatantly attack the 4 women. Even if there were some who didn't have eyes, the 3 women could easily deal with them. It wasn't until this moment that Yang Chen finally had time to pay attention to the situation of the Chunyang side palace. However, it could be seen from Yang Chen's retreat that no one had disturbed him, that everything was very normal. The fact was also as Yang Chen expected. Chunyang Palace had been more and more prosperous over the years, and there had been no other difficulties. The head of the palace and several other core executives had rotated with Wang Yong, Gao Shiyan and Meng Xian decades ago and rushed to the demon continent to gain experience. They caught up with the last wave of beasts that could be hunted, but the harvest was not bad. During this time, the masters of the Deshang stage of Chunyang Palace were basically all concentrated in the core demon seal formation, watching the battle from a distance, learning the experience of Ho Yun and the old tree demon fighting against the 6 human immortal species beasts. The territory of the Chunyang Palace has always been ahead of other sect, and the population has expanded to tens of millions within 100 years. With sufficient resources, sufficient land, and sufficient food, the mortals have wantonly given birth, and it has been passed on for 5 generations. Just in the territory of the Chunyang Palace alone, there have been more than 100,000 new disciples with good qualifications recruited over the years. Given time, it was not entirely impossible for Chunyang Palace to catch up with other super sects. Spread the news, saying that I have come out of seclusion and plan to refine the longevity pill. In the face of the congratulations of the elders on duty, Yang Chun encouraged them and instructed them with the seniority of his martial uncle and the identity of the young palace master. Chapter 1492. Yang Chun was going to refine the longevity pill, and many people had been looking forward to it as early as 100 years ago. However, Yang Chun said that it was beyond his power at that time, and no one could help him with this reason, so they could only wait patiently. After waiting for more than 100 years, they finally waited for the news that Yang Chun was going to start alchemy. The sect that got the news almost immediately sent representatives to set foot on the road straight to the Pure Yang Side Palace. Although Yang Chun had been in retreat over the years, the surprises he brought to the major sect were one after another. Not to mention anything else, just the silent solution to the blockade formation on the periphery of the demon continent made the masters of the major sect stunned when they heard the news. How big the blockade formation was, how wide its scope was, and how strong it was, basically all the masters who knew the follow-up plan knew it in their hearts. There were even quite a number of people who had deliberately tried to see if they could rely on themselves or the strength of their own sects to break the formation. Until Yang Chun broke the formation, no one had succeeded. Yang Chun was so quiet that he completely broke the formation. How could it not be shocking? The only thing that could make people feel better in their hearts was that everyone thought that Yang Chun just found a way to crack it in the Zhao family manner. No one would think that Yang Chun broke it by his own strength. Although Yang Chun never admitted it, everyone thought so, and they could always balance their hearts. Otherwise, Yang Chun's performance would be too heaven-defying. This time, the people who came were basically the ones who could make decisions in the sect. Based on previous cooperation, the plan of many sects was to first verify the authenticity of the life-prolonging pill, and then they should consider what kind of price it would cost to buy the life-prolonging pill from Yang Chun. From the questioning inner heart pill to the inner sensing pill to the 100-year pill, Yang Chun had never refused people to buy the pill recipe, but they had to pay a high price. On this point, Yang Chun was trustworthy. What everyone wanted to know the most was whether Yang Chun could actually refine a truly useful prolonging life pill. Relatively speaking, in addition to the 2 Dao sects, Yin Yang Demon School was the closest to the Pure Yang Side Palace. This time, the distribution of forces on the demon continent was not clearly divided according to Taoist, demon and demon, but mixed together. Therefore, the representatives of Yin Yang Demon School could be said to be the first batch of people to arrive at Chunyang Side Palace. Yang Chun was definitely too lazy to explain one thing again and again. The first thing to come was naturally the sect's reception according to the rules, and then wait for everyone to arrive. The representatives who came did not ask to see Yang Chun. After all, Yang Chun just said that he was going to start the alchemy, and it had not been completed yet. Everyone was just waiting for the news. While the representatives of other major sects were still on their way, in Yang Chun's Dragon Palace, there was already a charming woman. It was the head of Yin Yang Demon School in the Demon Continent, Lady Fanghua. At this time, Lady Fanghua was already limp and curled up in Yang Chun's arms. Her slender and smooth body was entangled in Yang Chun's body like a snake. Her face was still full of amorous feelings, and her closed eyes did not open for a long time. After not seeing each other for more than 200 years, Lady Fanghua's yearning for Yang Chun had already turned into a full of affection. She wished she could incarnate into a spider web and firmly net Yang Chun by her side. When her body saw her lover for a long time, how could she maintain her calm? She melted directly in Yang Chen's fiery chest. Yang Chen's yellow turbaned strongman body, refining technique, had advanced again. Even if there was no improvement in her cultivation base, Lady Fanghua was not Yang Chen's opponent. What's more, Yang Chen's cultivation base had already been promoted from the middle Deshang stage to the third-grade human immortal realm. In the first round, Lady Fanghua fainted in extreme happiness and has not woken up until now. For Lady Fanghua, Yang Chen had no love, but Lady Fanghua's heart and her body had been completely given to Yang Chen. Yang Chen was not the kind of person who abandoned Lady Fanghua, so he acquiesced in the existence of Lady Fanghua. Fortunately, Lady Fanghua never made trouble for Yang Chen in the affairs between men and women. Until now, they were in harmony and they could use each other to satisfy each other. Yang Chen had a loyal maid from the demon sect who would never betray him, and Lady Fanghua got a little concern from her lover's heart. She could also get huge benefits when solving the problems of her lover's cultivation. The two sides complemented each other. After Lady Fanghua woke up and recovered, Yang Chen and Lady Fanghua began the real double cultivation again. It was said to be a double cultivation, but in fact it was mainly Lady Fanghua using the method of absorbing Yang Chen's spiritual power. On the one hand, it purified and condensed the spiritual power for Yang Chen. On the other hand, her own cultivation base was also greatly improved. It was not until she really began to absorb Yang Chen's spiritual power that Lady Fanghua realized how terrifying Yang Chen's cultivation base was this time. Even if Lady Fanghua was already a master of the late Deshang stage, she was still almost injured by the surging spiritual power that was sucked in. If it weren't for Yang Chen, who saw that the situation was not good, Lady Fanghua would have been seriously injured. Lady Fanghua spent more than a month just to digest Yang Chen's spiritual power, and it was barely crossed off. However, Yang Chen's own cultivation base did not decrease much, and it still remained above the realm of the third-grade human immortal. In just 1 month, Lady Fanghua directly broke through the bottleneck from the late Deshang stage and entered the peak Deshang stage. This kind of cultivation speed, even if the demon sects focused on rapid progress, seemed a bit too shocking. Even Lin Changhe, who had almost tens of thousands of people in the world to provide him with spiritual power, took a long time to cultivate from the qi refining stage to the early Deshang stage. Compared with the current improvement of Lady Fanghua's cultivation base, it was simply not known how many times worse. Master, this slave is so happy. Lady Fanghua was now next to Yang Chen in her most charming posture, and her slender hands were peeling a grape picked from a vine that had grown for thousands of years, and she reached out to feed it to Yang Chen, who was lying on her thigh. Her face was as cheerful as a girl immersed in her first love. Have you had a good rest? Yang Chen closed his eyes and drank a glass of Yin Yang Demon School's special wine from Lady Fanghua's mouth, and asked softly, Master, your cultivation base is rising too fast. This slave may not be able to bear it alone. Even with the cultivation base of Lady Fanghua, after experiencing the previous harvest, there were some lingering fears. She didn't understand how her beloved's cultivation base could rise so fast. Although it also brought great benefits to her, she didn't want to taste the feeling of fainting after absorbing the spiritual power in a short period of time. Chapter 1493. Could it be that the spirit art of myriad brilliance can't be cultivated to the grand supreme level? Yang Chen couldn't help but ask when he heard the hidden meaning in Lady Fanghua's words. However, when he asked the question, his body was still lying on the soft couch with his head resting on Lady Fanghua's supple thigh. He was still enjoying her smooth skin. That's not it. Lady Fanghua shook her head quickly. She didn't want Yang Chen to misunderstand her because of such a small matter. Yang Chen didn't move his body. He only opened his mouth, and Lady Fanghua quickly and attentively placed a grape that had been peeled with care into Yang Chen's mouth. Master, this slave has done something behind your back. After thinking about it for a while, Madame Fanghua deliberated over the wording, and said carefully. As she spoke, she looked at Yang Chen's expression. Fortunately, Yang Chen's expression didn't change at all. He didn't seem to blame Lady Fanghua at all. He closed his eyes and said, "You don't have to hide anything about your sex matters. I won't care." "Master, this has something to do with you." Lady Fanghua didn't look like the mighty great elder of Yin Yang Demon School anymore. She was clearly a timid woman who was afraid that her lover would be angry. "It has something to do with me?" Yang Chen was stunned. He opened his eyes and glanced at Lady Fanghua. Then, he closed his eyes again and asked with a smile, "Why? Do you plan to find a few more opportunities to kill me? Spirit art of myriad brilliance has a breakthrough again? Bring it on." After having intimate contact with Lady Fanghua for so many years, Yang Chen didn't mind a little more in the bedroom. Moreover, Lady Fanghua, who came from the demon sect, brought Yang Chen more enjoyment in this aspect than his wives and concubines who came from the Dao sect. "Your servant hid it from you and found 30 maids for you." Lady Fanghua saw that Yang Chen didn't seem to be angry at all, so she said carefully, "After I gave myself to you for the first time, I searched the world and found 30 beautiful women. I secretly accepted them as disciples. All these years, they have all cultivated the spirit art of 1,000 colors. With the items and pills that Master has given them, they have all cultivated to the realm that I was at back then." Lady Fanghua peeked at Yang Chen's expression. Seeing that Yang Chen's expression didn't change much, she continued, "They are all virgins now. I have trained them for many years and are waiting for Master's favor." Sigh. Yang Chen let out a long sigh, which made Lady Fanghua's heart tighten, as if there was a band-tightening spell binding her tightly. Her absolute concern for Yang Chen made it impossible for her to tolerate any dissatisfaction from Yang Chen. Her face was instantly filled with fear. "Fanghua." Yang Chen didn't raise his head and get up, but he also knew Lady Fanghua's expression at this moment. After calling Lady Fanghua's maiden name, he couldn't help but ask, "In your heart, am I a lecher?" "Master, your servant deserves to die." Yang Chen didn't move, and Lady Fanghua didn't dare to kneel down, for fear that her movement would make Yang Chen uncomfortable. However, her face was already so anxious that she almost shed tears. She hurriedly explained, "Your servant didn't mean that. Your servant just thought that Master should have a few servants around him so that Master won't have to work hard." Why do cultivators need to enjoy so much? Yang Chen couldn't help but let out a bitter smile. This Lady Fanghua really needs to be disciplined. She actually came up with such a bad idea. "Master, you have many wives and concubines. Are you going to do everything yourself in the future, or let the madams and concubines do it?" Seeing that Yang Chen had a smile on his face, Lady Fanghua immediately said before Yang Chen got angry, "I heard that Fairy Junkie has already prepared a mansion for Master in the spiritual realm. You will definitely need some servants in the future. Do you still want to find a bunch of stinky men to serve the madams and concubines? Besides what?" Listening to Lady Fanghua's reason, Yang Chen didn't refute it for a while. However, Lady Fanghua obviously had something else to say, so Yang Chen couldn't help but ask curiously, "Please forgive your servant for being presumptuous." The fear in Lady Fanghua's heart finally disappeared a little, but she was still a little uneasy. She slowly said, "Master is scheming against the Taishanmen in the mortal world. I don't think he will give up just like that. Even if he goes to the spiritual realm and the immortal realm to deal with the Xiantian sect, Master will still need some helpers." Besides Gao Yu and Gong Sunling, the other person who knew about Yang Chen's plan to deal with the Taishanmen was Lady Fanghua. There were many things that Lady Fanghua came forward. Even if it was not Lady Fanghua who came forward at the beginning, Lady Fanghua still played the most important role in adding fuel to the fire. From this point of view, Yang Chen's trust in Lady Fanghua even exceeded his trust in Shi Shanshan, Sun Qingxue, and his concubines. Of course, on the one hand, it was also related to their origin in the Tao sect. Unlike Lady Fanghua, who had a natural dislike for Taishanmen, she would not have any pressure to deal with the Taishanmen. On the other hand, it was because of the Thousand Colors spiritual method. Because she was committed to Yang Qin, Lady Fanghua, who cultivated the Thousand Colors spiritual method, could not kill Yang Qin. Her heart could only be tied to Yang Qin, and it would not change in this life. This kind of trust even surpassed the trust of the women who belonged to the same Tao sect. Lady Fanghua could guess that he would also deal with the Xiantian sect in the future from his actions in dealing with the Taishanmen. It was not very wise, but she could use the reason that Yang Qin needed helpers to prepare the 30 beautiful maids for him as a reason for Yang Qin to accept them. Speaking of which, it could be said that she had put in a lot of effort. To deal with the Xiantian sect, it would not be good to use the secret means to deal with the Taishanmen in the future. In the future, they would definitely have to fight. At that time, the number of experts on his side would also mean the success or failure of his revenge. 30 experts who had enough weight and were absolutely loyal and would never betray him also had a great attraction. Of course, this was certainly not the only purpose of Lady Fanghua. Her most fundamental purpose was to rely on these beautiful maids to be favored. However, she was relatively smart in doing so, which always made Yang Qin feel less pressured. This servant also knows that this servant can't always be by master's side. While Yang Qin was thinking, Lady Fanghua had already opened her mouth again and said faintly, "These women were all secretly accepted by this servant, and outsiders never know. I only hope that master will accept them and let them serve master on behalf of this servant. In the future, when master sees them, just treat it as seeing this servant. As long as this servant has a place in master's heart, this servant will be satisfied." Hearing Lady Fanghua cry like this, Yang Qin clearly knew what Lady Fanghua was thinking, but he was still a little tempted. Chapter 1494. Yang Qin had a lot of friends, and there would be a lot of subordinates in Chunyang Palace in the future. However, when he really had to face the profound heaven sect, Yang Qin did not want these friends around him to be implicated by him. With 30 absolutely loyal maids, some things were much easier to do. In particular, these maids have not yet exposed their identities. Even if they cultivated the brilliant spirit method, Yang Qin still had a way to let them practice some other cultivation methods on the basis of this cultivation method, which would also be useful in the future. However, he had to let Yang Qin take their virginity to control them. Yang Qin had a lot of hesitation. This method was really a bit contrary to Yang Qin's heart. "Master, in fact, when this slave trained them, I have already let them regard master as the sky for life." Lady Fanghua was already prepared. How could she let Yang Qin give up easily, and immediately said, "In this life, they will only serve master. If master is not willing, this slave will clean them up." The cleaning in Lady Fanghua's mouth was easy to say, but Yang Qin understood that as long as he refused these maids, their fate would definitely be death. Lady Fanghua was not a good man or woman. It was just 30 beautiful women. Since they could not play any role in her favor, she would not put in the effort to cultivate them. The fate of those women could be imagined. "This slave is alone, I really can't bear the gift of master." Lady Fanghua leaned down and put a grape into Yang Qin's mouth. After that, she said with some embarrassment, "If the master's current situation is known to outsiders, I am afraid it will be troublesome again." It must be said that Lady Fanghua had grasped the key point this time. In a short period of 100 years, Yang Qin directly jumped from the middle Deshang stage to the 3rd grade of human immortal, and the fire attribute spirit power even went straight to the 5th grade of human immortal. This kind of cultivation speed, not to mention Lin Changhe in the great calamity of the demonic cultivation, even 10 Lin Changhe could not compare to Yang Qin. The growth of cultivation was not a big deal, but if Yang Qin's rapid growth could not give a convincing reason, perhaps Yang Qin and Chunyang Palace would be in big trouble again. Not to mention other things, just a large group of people from other sect came to ask Yang Chen for the way to increase his cultivation. Yang Chen did not know how to deal with it. Was it possible to tell everyone that he was madly absorbing the fire seeds, and one of the fire seeds also turned the yin-yang heaven-burning fire into two dragons playing with a pearl? The people around him, Gao Yugong, Sunling, Shi Shanshan and Sun Qingxue had nothing to do with it, and now Lady Fanghua also knew about it, so it didn't matter. But if there were really other outsiders who knew about it, Yang Chen did not want to be so troublesome. The reason why the elder on duty informed the other sect that he was going to refine pills was actually a small signal to let Lady Fanghua come. Originally, Yang Chen thought that Lady Fanghua could solve the problem by herself. Now it seemed that even if Lady Fanghua tried her best, she could not support this much spirit power alone. Yang Chen's great yin and yang 5 elements spirit power was not something that could be casually born. Thinking of this, Yang Chen's heart suddenly trembled. Some things, in fact, there was only one solution, there was no need to consider so many troubles. It was not Yang Chen's consistent characteristics to be indecisive. If he wanted it, then he wanted it. If he didn't want it, then he didn't want it. There was no need to be so hesitant. With this decision, Yang Chen's mood was relaxed, and it seemed that something had broken free. The whole person immediately became refreshed. Well, Fanghua, I will accept your kindness. Yang Chen smiled and gave Lady Fanghua a positive answer. In the future, in my Yang family, you will be the chief steward of the inner residence. Lady Fanghua screamed and bowed her head to hug Yang Chen and kissed him fiercely. She was very happy. Yang Chen did not despise her origin and accepted her gift, which made her extremely happy. Even if she was asked to die for Yang Chen, Lady Fanghua would not hesitate. Yang Chen slowly sat up. Lady Fanghua hurriedly helped Yang Chen to sit up, and then leaned on Yang Chen's body and curled up in Yang Chen's arms, which was the most comfortable posture. You are not by my side, there are some things that I still have to pay attention to, especially safety. Yang Chen hugged Lady Fanghua and slowly exhorted. Suddenly, something appeared in his hand, but it was a beautiful golden crown. In Yang Chen's hand it suddenly turned into a very beautiful women's hair tie. Sending the hair tie to Lady Fanghua, Yang Chen said, "This body protection magic weapon, after the sacrificial refining of you, can block the attack of the 5th stage of the human immortal. You should refine it diligently and use it to protect yourself." The golden crown that could change shape. This was the magic weapon that was obtained after killing the Taishaman sect leader. At that time, sect leader Li relied on this golden crown to be able to block the attack of the sky-shaking thunder safely. Now he gave it to Lady Fanghua, which was also a small reward for her. Lady Fanghua was really overjoyed, and her eyes were a little red, especially when Yang Chen said that this was sacrificially refined by Gao Yu. It seemed that the first madam had already vaguely accepted her. How could it not make Lady Fanghua overjoyed? Who in this world didn't know Gao Yu's refining level? Needless to say, it was a good thing, especially when Yang Chen also said that it could block the attack of the 5th stage of the human immortal. It was simply a peerless product. Master, you fasten it for this slave. Lady Fanghua straightened up and put up her hair with her hand. With a coquettish tone, she asked Yang Chen to help. Yang Chen did not refuse and reached out to help Lady Fanghua fasten it. Just such a small intimacy, Lady Fanghua was about to explode with joy. There was already a layer of light in her eyes. She stared at Yang Chen with such a watery and translucent look, which was indescribably charming. It seems that there is still something missing. Yang Chen looked around at Lady Fanghua, who had fastened the belt. Sure enough, there was a different kind of beauty. Since he had already given her this belt, Yang Chen simply gave the Buddha to the West. There was one more thing in his hand, which was a beautiful and unusual hairpin. This hairpin was also sacrificially refined by a Yu. He didn't put too much effort into it. In the future, it can barely enhance your spiritual awareness by 50%. Yang Chen looked at the angle and inserted the hairpin into the head of Lady Fanghua, who was sitting upright and waiting for Yang Chen to start. After inserting it, it was really a lot more perfect. Casually taking out a mirror for Lady Fanghua to admire, Yang Chen did not forget to introduce the full effect of the hairpin. Now your spiritual awareness is only at the first stage of the human immortal. This hairpin can help you improve to about the 8th stage of the human immortal. However, after your cultivation base improves in the future, the effect will not be so significant. At most, it will increase by 5 points. Lady Fanghua couldn't bear it anymore and began to experiment directly. In an instant, the entire space seemed to be covered by Lady Fanghua's spiritual awareness, and the huge pressure spread out like a substance. Chapter 1495. With the 2 magic weapons, Lady Fanghua was already dead set on Yang Chen, and it was obvious that she could not wait to die for Yang Chen immediately. In particular, these 2 things could change shape, and they had the effect of protection and enhancement of spiritual awareness. For a woman like Lady Fanghua, who loved beauty, it was simply a divine weapon. The hairpin was also obtained from Sect Master Li, and it had also been changed. Gao Yu's technique had been guided by Li Cheng almost step by step. Even if the master who refined these 2 things at that time held them in his hands, he could not be sure that this was the magic weapon that he had refined at that time. The female guard was pleased with herself. Now, where was Yang Chen just as simple pleased with himself? For Lady Fanghua, Yang Chen was her heaven, her earth, and her everything. Lady Fanghua hated that she could not immediately crush herself and merge with Yang Chen. Naturally, a lingering intimacy was inevitable. This time, Lady Fanghua once again absorbed Yang Chen's spiritual power. Another month later, Lady Fanghua's cultivation base directly jumped from the Peak de Shang stage and entered the realm of the 2nd grade human immortal. Yang Chen's cultivation base still stayed on the edge of the 3rd grade human immortal, only a little bit lower. If he wanted to cover up his cultivation base in a short time, it was already impossible to rely on Madame Fanghua alone. Under the nod of Yang Chen, Lady Fanghua finally released the 30 well-prepared maids. The slaves pay respect to the master. 30 beautiful women of all shapes and sizes bowed down in front of Yang Chen. It was simply the most beautiful scenery. Even with Yang Chen's extensive knowledge, he had to admit that in searching for beautiful women, Lady Fanghua's vision was indeed superb. Every one of them was almost at the same level as his 4 wives who had not practiced the beauty-retaining cultivation method. Especially after these women refined the brilliant 1000 red spirit method, they were even more slim, beautiful, and charming, which was indescribably fascinating. Lady Fanghua's level of training was also very good. In just 300 or 400 years, these 30 women, who were cultivated from the beginning according to Lady Fanghua, had all reached the late Yuanying stage. It happened to be the same realm as when Yang Chen first met Lady Fanghua. This also fully showed that the cultivation aptitude of these women was also excellent. It was difficult for Madame Fanghua to find so many women with different attributes. There were 6 of each of the metal, wood, water, fire, and earth, which was very average. Obviously, in this regard, Madame Fanghua had put in a lot of effort. What's more, from the beginning of these women's cultivation, they were hypnotized by Lady Fanghua with the mental cultivation method of the brilliant 1000 red spirit method. In this life, except for Yang Chen, there would be no other man's shadow in their hearts. Lady Fanghua, who came from the demon sect, was not afraid that these women and Yang Chen would take away Yang Chen's love for her. Speaking of it, she was still the master of these women. The master and apprentices served Yang Chen together, giving him whatever he wanted, and submitting to adversity, which could make Yang Chen have a taboo stimulation, even more than when Yang Chen married his own master Gao Yu. For dedicating themselves to Yang Chen, the women almost used a sacrificial mentality, offering their virginity to Yang Chen like a pilgrimage. At the moment when they completed the transformation from a young girl to a young woman, Every woman was satisfied like religious fanaticism. From the beginning, they were trained by Lady Fanghua to dedicate their lives to Yang Chen. How could they be like Lady Fanghua, who needed to kill Yang Chen 3 times before she would be dead set on him? After these women became Yang Chen's people, their first reaction was to casually attack Yang Chen 3 times. After completing the conditions of the brilliant Thousand Red Spirit method, they completely dedicated themselves and their hearts to Yang Chen. During this period of time, Yang Chen was simply living in the fragrant country. What dissolute King Zhou-Yang Emperor, riding the fastest flying dragon, could not catch up with Yang Chen's clothes. Lady Fanghua took 30 maids with her, so that Yang Chen didn't even need to move his fingers, and he could enjoy the most erotic taste in the world. Yang Chen almost lived in the wine pool and meat forest. What his eyes saw and what his hands touched was a piece of pink curved snow. No matter what Yang Chen wanted to do, as long as he said it, there would be the most suitable woman to complete it for him. Fortunately, this was in the Dragon Palace, and it was impossible for others to come in at will, let alone see. If others saw Yang Chen's appearance at the moment, they would definitely suspect that Yang Chen had switched to the demon sect. Of course, Yang Chen did not forget the business. He accepted these 30 maids in order to quickly reduce his own cultivation, and at the same time condense his own spiritual power. The 30 maids were hit by a big pie falling from the sky. They never thought that their master would let them do such a thing. Every day, there was a maid who specially completed the process of absorbing Yang Chen's spiritual power. Yang Chen knew that their cultivation was low, so he just let them do their best. After several turns, the cultivation of all the maids had been raised to the peak Deshang stage. Of course, Lady Fanghua would not fall behind. With so many maids to share the pressure of her own, Lady Fanghua could finally rest assured and thoroughly enjoy the wonderful feeling of being nourished by her lover. While enjoying it, her cultivation was also skyrocketing. In just a few months, Lady Fanghua's cultivation had rushed to the 4th grade of human immortal. When she came, she was only in the late Deshang stage. In just a few months, Lady Fanghua had already become a 4th grade human immortal. The changes during this period were simply stunning. Lady Fanghua was originally from the demon sect. There had been several precedents of rapid improvement in her cultivation before, so no one would doubt anything. Even if someone questioned it, Lady Fanghua could say that she had comprehended the sect's glamorous spiritual method. With the support of Yin Yang Demon School, no one dared to grab a great superior Lady Fanghua. In this regard, Yin Yang Demon School was still many times stronger than Chunyang Palace. Yang Chen's own spiritual power cultivation finally fell to the peak Deshang stage after being squeezed by Lady Fanghua and the 30 maids. The fire attribute spiritual power was still outstanding, but it was only the 1st grade human immortal realm. Compared with the previous horror of the 5th grade human immortal, the change of cultivation in more than 100 years was not so outrageous. The 30 maids had completely integrated into their roles. As long as they were in the Dragon Palace, Yang Chen was destined to become a high and mighty master. The 30 beauties who were all focused on Yang Chen tried their best to serve Yang Chen perfectly, paying attention to any of Yang Chen's preferences, and trying to let Yang Chen enjoy the most thoughtful service in the world. In less than a year, all the representatives of the major sect finally arrived at the Chunyang Palace. It was time for Yang Chen to talk to the representatives of the major sect about the longevity pill. Chapter 1496. The people who came here were far more than the top 10 sect of the Demon Continent. There were also rogue cultivators who had come to the Demon Continent over the years and discovered the situation of the Demon Continent and stayed to cultivate. In the current Demon Continent, except that the main sect had become the pure Yang Side Palace and the big sect, the others were no different from the former Dao sects or demon sects. No matter how strong the top 10 sect was, it was impossible to occupy all the territories. There would always be some small spiritual veins that would be shared by other sect people. As before, Each sect opened a big market in its own territory and exchanged some things with the disciples of other sect or rogue cultivators. The closer to the core of the sect, the larger the scale of the market, and more cultivators gathered. There were a lot of rogue cultivators coming this time, and there were also a lot of masters from other sect who did not catch up with the big development. They heard that Yang Chun had a plan for a new medicinal pill, so they all gathered to see if there was a chance. The people on the demon continent, because the devil chi had been absorbed in recent years, many people had harvested some completely pure devilish bead. Although it was not as big as the one that Yang Chun gave to Mu Mingyuan back then, it was not difficult to casually increase the cultivation of a cultivator by hundreds of years. The last chance, all the people who caught up would catch up, and those who couldn't catch up would never have a chance in the future. The sect that came to the demon continent with Yang Chun made a lot of money. Although there were enough devilish beads and the devil chi had been completely purified, people were like this. If they had a good thing, they would pursue another better thing. The devilish bead was a good thing that could increase the cultivation of a cultivator out of thin air, but the devilish bead had a fatal shortcoming. This kind of increase in cultivation could only increase the cultivation of spiritual power, and it had no effect on the improvement of the state of mind. The best and most natural method was to rely on oneself to slowly cultivate over the years. That was the most reliable method. Everyone understood the truth, so Yang Chen's prolonging life pill became the hot spot of everyone's pursuit. Being able to increase lifespan meant that they could not use those unorthodox methods to increase their cultivation, and would not be affected by the side effects of the devilish bead. If such a good thing was not seized, people would definitely regret it for life. Of course, even if so many people gathered in the pure Yang side palace, it was impossible for Yang Chun to meet them one by one. What Yang Chun needed to see was just the representatives of the big sect, which naturally included Lady Fanghua of the Yin Yang Demon School. No one knew that Lady Fanghua had stayed with Yang Chun for a whole year. Everyone only knew that after the last separation, in just 100 years, Lady Fanghua had leaped from the middle Deshang stage to the sect. The cultivation of the demon sects was fast, everyone was mentally prepared, but Madame Fanghua seemed to be a bit special. Last time, he suddenly jumped from the late Yuanying stage to the middle Deshang stage. This time, it was even more exaggerated. He directly jumped from the middle Deshang stage to the third grade of human immortal. It seemed that the cultivation method that Madame Fanghua cultivated in the past was indeed unique. Even other people in Yin Yang Demon School did not have any doubts about the change of Lady Fanghua. In fact, Lady Fanghua was not the only one in Yin Yang Demon School who suddenly increased their cultivation base. Everyone was mixed yin and yang, so they naturally understood what the sudden improvement meant. It was nothing more than someone or a few poor guys being unlucky. They were sucked dry of their spiritual power by this snake and scorpion woman, and then kicked away. It was not a big deal. However, Yin Yang Demon School suddenly had a master of the sect, which was a big deal worth being happy and paying attention to. This also meant that the strength of Yin Yang Demon School had increased a little, and the safety of the disciples of the sect was a little more guaranteed. People in other sect congratulated him, but they were secretly worried in their hearts. Such a change in cultivation base of the great elder of Yin Yang Demon School was still a little unsettling. Fortunately, for the time being, everyone was still an ally on the demon continent, so there was no need to worry too much for the time being. The appearance of Yang Chun quickly caused a burst of greetings from the crowd. The title of Master Yang was endless and rang non-stop. All the cultivators, familiar or unfamiliar, had the same title in their mouths. No one dared to disrespect Yang Chun in the pure Yang side palace. This Yang opened the furnace this time. I was just going to ask for some medicinal materials from the patients of this Yang to start alchemy. Everyone is so kind, this Yang is grateful. He was already a master of the Deshang stage. In the face of guests, Yang Chun rarely called himself this one, and used this yang instead. Master Yang, can this medicinal pill really prolong life? Yang Chen was easygoing. Among the guests who came, someone boldly asked this question. There was no way around it. The medicinal pill to prolong life had always been a legend, and no one had ever heard of it. How many predecessors have not found a suitable way in their lifetime, but Yang Chen already has a clear pill recipe, which always gives people a feeling of unreality. This Yang does not dare to guarantee 100%. Yang Chen's answer was equally direct, but the answer was somewhat unsatisfactory. In people's expectations, they still wanted a positive answer. For this kind of thing, others did not believe that Yang Chen had this ability. Did Yang Chen still need to argue? In that case, how dare Master Yang talk nonsense and say that he wants to refine the longevity pill? The voice of the stranger in the crowd immediately questioned, and in the voice it was full of anger, as if he had been deceived by Yang Chen. This Yang just said that he would try to refine a furnace, and this Yang never promised you anything. In the sight of Chunyang Palace, there was such a person, of course, Yang Chen would not have any good face. Not only Yang Chen, but even the other people in Chunyang Palace were also glaring. So, Master Yang was originally planning to deceive people? The stranger was a bit unforgiving, as if he had a deep hatred with Yang Chen, and immediately began to slander Yang Chen. This friend, if you have something to say, you don't have to hide your head and show your tail, Yang Chen said with a smile on his face. As soon as Yang Chen turned to this side, several people in front of that direction hurriedly dodged. What a joke, they came to ask for pills and opportunities, not to provoke Yang Chen. Everyone's movements were very fast, for fear that it would cause Yang Chen's dissatisfaction. There seemed to be only 3 people left, an old man with broken hands and feet, and the other 2 were 2 guys who looked very powerful at first glance. But the strange thing was that the other party only had the cultivation base of the late Deshang stage. How dare they be so presumptuous here? Yang Chen, this old man is the master of the hidden dragon cave. Seeing that there was no one else in front, one of the 2 powerful guys shouted at Yang Chen, "The hatred of killing my son, today this old man will find you to settle it." Chapter 1497. With the loud shout of the hidden dragon cave master, the aura of the 2 men suddenly began to swell, as if they had been strongly suppressing it before, suppressing it in the middle Deshang stage. Now that it was completely released, they actually had the level of the 3rd-grade human immortal. Everyone didn't seem to expect such a change. Even Yang Chen seemed to be stunned in place, stunned and motionless. Who could have thought that in the Chunyang Palace, in the face of so many masters of the Chunyang Palace, there were still people who dared to find Yang Chen to seek revenge. However, it seems that the opportunity this guy found was very good. All the masters of the Deshang stage in the Chunyang Palace, except for Yang Chen, were in the core demon seal formation to learn and observe. Only Yang Chen was in charge here. The representatives of the major sect who came to the Chunyang Palace, because it was not a formal event of the sect, they just contacted Yang Chen in advance and learned about Yang Chen's progress in alchemy, so they were not 2 senior masters. The most powerful one, except for Lady Fanghua, was just an elder in the middle Deshang stage. At this moment, Lady Fanghua of Yin Yang Demon School, in order to avoid suspicion, was sitting in the farthest place with a smile on her face to maintain her majesty as a master. For a while, it was still not urgent to save them. If they wanted to force it, they might have to sweep away all the people standing between the 2. If they were not careful, they would accidentally hurt themselves. The hidden dragon cave master said that he and Yang Chen had a feud of killing his son, and Yang Chen had almost forgotten it. If it weren't for the reminder of the guy in front of him, Yang Chen would not remember the first time he went to the demon continent to gain experience. After just entering the continent, the arrogant guy wanted to hit the 4 women and was directly killed by Yang Chen. At that time, Yang Chen only thought that he killed a trivial little guy, but did not expect that the force behind the little guy was a bit tough. After so many years, they actually found out that Yang Chen killed his son at that time. The hatred of killing his son, after so many years, the cave master of the hidden dragon cave finally found the right person. The opportunity in front of him was the best time for him to kill him and fulfill his long-cherished wish. This hateful brat, whether he was called Yang Chen or Master Yang, only death awaited him. Yang Chen's cultivation seemed pretty good. His fire attribute cultivation had actually reached the first stage of the human immortal stage. But so what? Under the pincer attack of 2 third-grade human immortals in the hidden dragon cave, there was no other possibility than dying on the spot. Cave Master Hidden Dragon seemed to have seen Yang Chen's beheading, and the grin on his face was a little more satisfied. The two of them had already brought out their magic treasures and were about to fly towards Yang Chen. It seemed as though no one would be able to save Yang Chen at that very moment. Suddenly, something happened. Behind the two people in the hidden dragon cave, the old man with a broken hand and a broken foot had been standing there very dispirited. At most, he was at the peak of the Yuanying stage, but at this moment, he suddenly burst out with a trembling momentum, as if a sun had suddenly exploded and the heat was radiating. Behind the two sturdy figures, the old man's only hand had already grabbed the back of the hidden dragon cave master's neck from behind in a flash, while his body had already leaped into the air, kicking the other guy's back heavily with one foot. Puff, a mouthful of blood spurted out directly, like a bullet, directly sprayed on the wall in the distance. The thick stone wall was instantly pierced by the spurted blood. Immediately after the blood hit the wall, it was the body of the third-grade human immortal stage guy. With a bang, half of the wall was smashed out a huge hole, and the figure flew out. The power of that kick was so great that only half of the body of the master of the hidden dragon cave flew out, and the remaining half was still in place. Because of inertia, the two legs still maintained a forward rushing posture, and stopped for a while before falling down. The cave master of the hidden dragon cave was directly held by the back neck by the one-armed old man, and his whole body was hanging softly, as if he was dead. Even with the strength of the third-grade human immortal stage, in the hands of the one-armed old man, it was vulnerable. Elder Zhou, how can I trouble you to do it in person? On Yang Chen's face, there was no panic at all, and even a kind smile, as if seeing a familiar friend. The dispirited old man with one hand and one foot was Elder Zhou of Yin Yang Demon School, who was seriously injured last time. The first time Yang Chen talked about the longevity pill was when he treated Elder Zhou's injury. For so many years, Elder Zhou, who was injured, did nothing but take Yang Chen's 5th-grade Lingji mushroom jade pill to heal his injuries. He has been waiting for the time when Yang Chen could refine the longevity pill. After waiting for more than 100 years, he finally waited for this moment. How could Elder Zhou sit still and immediately came with Lady Fanghua? The two little guys of the hidden dragon cave, who had never been heard of, didn't know what secret method they had cultivated. They were able to skyrocket their cultivation base to the realm of the third-grade human immortal stage in a short period of time. They were delusional enough to act like a tyrant in the pure Yang Palace, and they also wanted to kill Yang Chen for revenge. They really didn't know the immensity of heaven and earth. If they really let them hurt Yang Chen, not to mention the injury, even if they were a little scared, it would be an unbearable thing for Elder Zhou. The two guys actually stood in front of Elder Zhou and dared to say that Yang Chen would be beheaded. It was estimated that they haven't learned how to write the word death? Master Yang, how do you think this guy should be dealt with? Holding the back neck of the hidden dragon cave master, Elder Zhou stood on one foot with an unusually majestic posture. However, the voice that came out of the majestic body was indeed so flattering. You can do as you see fit. Yang Chen casually waved, as if the hidden dragon cave master was a trivial fly. Bang! Yang Chen's voice just fell. The neck of the hidden dragon cave master was pinched into a mass of minced meat, and the lifeless body was thrown to the side very casually. With a disgusted expression on his face, Elder Zhou shook the blood drops on his hands, and then leaned over to wipe his hands on the clothes of the Hidden Dragon Cave Master, and then kicked the body of the Hidden Dragon Cave Master away. The people around him seemed to have seen some terrifying demons, and they all dodged, and no one dared to look at Elder Zhou again. Only the representatives of the major sects were still able to maintain their composure and remain seated. As for the rogue cultivators, they were already petrified. "Master Yang, what kind of devilish bead do you need for alchemy? As long as you say it, my sect will immediately offer it with both hands." Elder Zhou's tone was sincere, and there was no trace of questioning Yang Chen. He stood in the same place with one hand and one foot, with a flattering smile on his face. No matter how one looked at it, it was not harmonious. If it weren't for the fact that everyone had just seen him kill the two masters of the Hidden Dragon Cave with lightning speed, no matter what, they couldn't associate him with a master. "Devilish bead of human immortal grade 5 or above," Yang Chen replied with a smile, and then gave Elder Zhou a huge surprise. "If there is a ready-made one, how about you and I do alchemy together?" Chapter 1498. Accompanying Yang Chen to refine pills and witnessing how a 5th-grade alchemist master refined pills, what kind of glory was this? Even Elder Zhou, who was a great master, couldn't help but tremble with excitement when he heard Yang Chen's invitation. The others looked at Elder Zhou as if he was the winner of the lottery. Many people dreamed of this opportunity, but it had fallen into Elder Zhou's hands. How great would it be if they could swap places with Elder Zhou? "Grandmaster Yang, I just took the liberty to make a move in the Chunyang Palace. I hope Grandmaster can forgive me." After all, he was a great master. Elder Zhou quickly calmed down, and the first thing he did was to bow and apologize to Yang Chen. Killing the Hidden Dragon Cave Master and his accomplices, although it was to help Yang Chen out of trouble, this was the site of the Chunyang Palace. The master has not yet made a move, but the guest has already made a move. If this is said, it is more or less a small problem of etiquette, a bit of a suspicion of turning the guest into the host. But now Elder Zhou apologized so sincerely, but he gave all his face to the Chunyang Palace. Who was Elder Zhou? The great elder of Yin Yang Demon School. Even Lady Fanghua had to salute when she met him. In front of Yang Chen, he was so respectful, the meaning was already needless to say. It's just a small matter, Elder Zhou doesn't have to worry about it. On the contrary, this Yang wants to thank Elder Zhou for his help. Elder Zhou gave him face. Yang Chen, of course, would also return the favor and immediately responded positively. After a period of bustle, Yang Chen greeted the disciples on duty in the sect and took Elder Zhou into the alchemy room that had already been prepared, intending to start refining the longevity pill. Elder Zhou had already prepared the demonic bead above the 5th grade of the human immortal for the longevity pill. For the sake of safety, he deliberately went with 2 other elders of the same sect to kill the 6th grade of the human immortal beast, and also prepared 3, enough for Yang Chen's consumption. Although it was Yang Chen's first time cultivating the prolonging life pill, and there was only a theoretical possibility of success, Yang Chen was still very confident. Not to mention anything else, just the fact that Li Qing had nodded his head after reading it meant that there was an 80 to 90% chance that the principle behind the prolonging life pill was established. Especially with the magical white fire seed, Yang Chen's confidence in alchemy was 80 to 90%. Elder Zhou watched Yang Chen's every move without blinking. Ever since Yang Chen came in and greeted him, Yang Chen no longer paid attention to Elder Zhou and devoted himself to alchemy. Regarding this, Elder Zhou was not the least bit displeased. He was concocting a pill for him, and if he were to accidentally disturb Yang Chen, failure in concocting the pill would be a small matter, but delaying Yang Chen's work would be a huge problem. Elder Zhou remembered Yang Chen's every movement and every technique. It was as if he wanted to figure out the pill formula for the prolonging life pill from Yang Chen's movement. Although he knew that it was futile, he could not help but want to do it. The prolonging life pill was not something that could be done in a day or two, so Elder Zhou was mentally prepared. After Yang Chen started concocting the pill, Elder Zhou stood guard and waited patiently. No matter how big the situation outside was, it had nothing to do with him. Whether or not his hands and feet could recover depended on Yang Chen's pill. Even if the sky fell, Elder Zhou would definitely help Yang Chen until he finished concocting the pill. Elder Zhou and Yang Chen were in seclusion in the alchemy room, ignoring the outside world, but the people outside were recently shocked by another matter. Speaking of which, the matter that shocked everyone was related to Yang Chen. Yang Chen's 4 wives, Gao Yu, Gong Sunling, Shi Shanshan, and Sun Qingxue, had entered the core demon sealing array together. Entering the demon sealing array was not a big deal. However, the 4 women did not enter the demon sealing array that each sect had set up at the center of the demon sealing array. Instead, they entered the demon sealing array that trapped all the breeding beasts. Up until now, it was no longer as easy for all the sect to hunt the breeding beasts. All the breeding beasts below grade 6 human immortal had been slaughtered by the sect. As for grade 6 human immortal breeding beasts, only a few were left after the slaughter. Those who could maintain the sect's demon sealing array to hunt the breeding beasts were the strongest experts in each sect. They were human immortal elders. Each sect would only have 2 or 3 of them. After all, Du Fu was a grade 6 or grade 7 human immortal. Even if a few of them worked together, it would take a lot of effort to kill one. It was not as simple as before. In this case, the core demon sealing array in the center, except for Elder Wang, who was a grade 8 human immortal, no one else rushed to go there. Even Elder Wang only went in occasionally to take a look and see the situation of the absorption of the demonic qi. If he went in alone, he would never do it again. One lesson from Elder Zhou was more than enough. The 4 little girls in the eyes of all the supreme experts swaggered into the fiend sealing formation. How could they not be surprised? After receiving the news, the first reaction of the great masters of the sect was that it was impossible. Then there was another guess. Did Yang Chen already have a way to deal with these breeding beasts and kept it a secret? Just a few decades ago, Yang Chen broke the demon sealing array on the periphery of the demon continent by himself. Now the 4 women were so arrogant, maybe it was because of some unique hunting technique that Yang Chen knew. There were great masters in the demon sealing array of the major sect at all times. After receiving the news, they immediately followed into the central demon sealing array. In total, the time they saw the 4 women was at most 2 days apart. Everyone thought that the 4 women would have some unique skills when facing the super strong breeding beasts. Therefore, when these great masters saw the fighting methods of the 4 women, they were all shocked by the unique hunting methods of the 4 women. The 4 women didn't seem to have anything special about them. At most, they had a tacit understanding with each other. Of course, several excellent protective magic treasures were also the main reason why they could be safe and sound in such a dangerous place. However, wasn't their efficiency in hunting the breeding beasts a little too efficient? Even if it was Elder Wang of the 8th grade human immortal, if he wanted to deal with the 7th grade human immortal beast, even if there would be no danger, it would always take a period of time. During this period, there must be various attacks and defenses to be successful. The breeding beasts didn't know how to be afraid at all. This was the unified characteristic of all the demonic beasts on the demon continent, and it was also one of the reasons why they were feared. However, the 4 women seemed to be effortless in dealing with the breeding beast. Gao Yu's cultivation was the highest, and the level of human immortal allowed her to rush to the front, followed by Gong Sunling, Shi Shanshan and Sun Qingxue. What shocked everyone the most was that as long as Gao Yu and Gong Sunling joined forces to block the first few attacks, Shi Shanshan could kill a 7th grade human immortal beast with one blow. The time before and after added up was no more than an hour. Chapter 1499. For the first time, they saw the 4 women cooperate so tacitly to kill the 7th grade human immortal beast, and all the people who saw it were shocked. It was not a guerrilla fight or a strategy at all, it was simply a crushing of absolute strength. The problem was that even if Gao Yu was strong, she only had the cultivation base of the third-grade human immortal, and the other three women were even more outrageous, but only in the middle Deshang stage. It was so easy to kill a seventh-grade human immortal beast, how could it not make people crazy? Although Gao Yu and the other three women did not dare to rush into the group of beasts, they still lured a certain beast away from the place, far away from other beasts, and would not disturb them, and then they would kill it. The four of them were only facing one at a time, but just this one was enough to astonish them. Among the four, Gao Yu had the highest cultivation base and the most courageous performance. Every time she was always at the forefront, whether it was to lure the enemy or resist, she was the vanguard. Even in the battle, it seemed that she was also showing her status as the first wife. Gong Xuanling's performance was relatively average, but the onlookers were knowledgeable and no one dared to underestimate her. Among other things, the unpredictable tactics between the four people, the fundamental core was Gong Sunling. Her mountain river geographical map was the basis of all this. It could be said that all the attacks and defenses of the four women were completed around Gong Sunling. Sun Qingshua's performance did not seem to be so amazing, but from time to time, she brought out the shield-shaped protective magic weapon that could withstand the attacks of the 7 species of human immortal beasts, almost withstood all the attacks of the beasts. The four women could be safe and sound in the critical moment, all because of Sun Qingxue. The most frightening thing was Shi Shanshan. Basically, the last blow was all completed by her. A sword chi was almost unstoppable. The 7th-grade human immortal beast had no defense in front of the sword chi. If such a sword chi was cut on other cultivators, what would be the result? If Gao Yu's 3rd-grade human immortal cultivation base was barely able to enter the eyes of the great elders, then the performance of Gong Sunling, Sun Qingxue and Shi Shanshan in the middle Deshang stage directly smashed the fragile hearts of all the great masters. Previously, there was an evildoer, Ho Yun, in Chunyang Palace. With the strength of the peak Mahayana stage, he dared to provoke the 6th-grade human immortal beast with a big stick. Ho Yun had already made everyone speechless. After getting used to it, everyone also found a reasonable reason to explain. After all, his original body was the mighty Ape King, and his cultivation aptitude was unique. In this poor world, there was only one monster like him in thousands of years, so everyone accepted it. But now there were 4 of such monsters. Even excluding Gao Yu, she was already a 3rd-grade human immortal and had entered the ranks of the supreme experts. But the remaining 3 were in the middle Deshang stage. How was this possible? If this kind of thing became the norm, how could so many grand elders endure it? Looking at the performance of the 4 women, a group of great masters always felt that they had lived a long time in vain. The young people nowadays were really amazing. Among the great masters who saw these, the happiest were the elders of the Green Jade, Immortal Island and the Blue Cloud sect. Sun Qingxue and Shi Shanshan's performance was so powerful that they were simply adding gold to their respective sect in front of these old guys. It was not gold foil but gold nuggets. There was no great master in Chunyang Palace, but with such a big thing happening, the master of the palace and other masters who were practicing in the core demon seal formation all rushed here. Looking at the performance of his disciples, the master of the palace was greatly comforted, and he almost couldn't close his mouth. The 4 women were all Yang Chen's wives. Their performance could only explain one thing, that was, Yang Chen also felt that things were coming to an end. It was a pity that the sects could only maintain the original situation. A few supreme experts fought against a high-level beast, and they could not achieve the efficient killing of Gao Yu and the other 4 women. When the Emperor's aura on Gao Yu's body was not launched, no one would feel it. Only at the moment of battle, Gao Yu would release it in a specific direction. Only dealing with one kind of beast at a time, the appearance and disappearance of the Emperor's aura were unknown, and no one knew the mystery. Except for their own people, no outsider could think that the beasts faced by the four women had been beaten down by a big realm. In addition to the basic physical functions and protection that were still at the original level, the attack power had completely fallen to the peak Deshang stage. This ensured that as long as the four women had the mountain river geographical map and the Xuanwu shield, they would never be injured. In the face of the 7th grade human immortal beast body, Shi Shanshan's supreme pure yang sword qi, which had been condensed for more than 100 years, could completely ignore their protection and could be penetrated with a sword. The 7th grade human immortal bead easily fell into the hands of the four women. That huge golden demonic bead made the surrounding people drool. However, everyone was a person with a face. First, they couldn't do things like robbing the objects of the younger generation. Second, even if they had the intention, they were not sure that they could survive the attack of the four women. In the end, they still hesitated in the face of the 7th grade human immortal beast, but the four women had already killed it like cutting melons and vegetables. Fortunately, the four women did not completely leave any opportunities for all parties. Shi Shanshan's sword qi was sent out, and almost all the power was taken away. Every time she killed a beast, she basically had to cultivate for about 3 or 4 months. In other words, the efficiency of killing them was only twice faster than when the experts of the various sects besieged them. It was not too outrageous. In particular, every time Shi Shanshan recuperated, she would eat the 1,000-year-old ginseng as a snack. Even though the Supreme Elders were used to seeing rich people, they couldn't help but be shocked by the generosity of Yang Chen's wives. In this world, being an alchemist was indeed the most profitable and wealthiest profession. The major sect also began to speed up the killing of the beasts. Previously, they had the idea of training the experts, but now they were focused on killing. If they didn't hurry up, all the remaining demonic beads would fall into the hands of the four women, so they had no choice but to speed up. The number of 7th grade human immortal beasts was originally less than 200. In just a year, under the joint attack of the major sect and the four women, more than 40 of them were directly killed. At this rate, in 2 or 3 years, everyone would have to face 8th grade human immortal beasts. At this time, Yang Chen finally began to concoct the prolonging life pill. The days passed in the midst of Yang Chen's nervous concoction and the four women's hard work. In the blink of an eye, 5 years had passed. In 5 years, the 7th grade human immortal beasts had been completely killed. Now everyone was facing 8th grade human immortal super beasts. At this time, the major sect wanted to kill quickly, but they were powerless. They could only watch Gao Yu and the other 3 women kill efficiently. Chapter 1500. The more it went on, the more important the role of Sun Qingxue became. Before, she may not have been proficient enough in absorbing and refining the ultimate demonized vine. As the battle progressed, the body of the ultimate demonized vine finally exerted a jaw-dropping horror. The ultimate demonized vine of the 2nd grade of the Earth Immortal stage, it was not known how many years it had experienced the invasion of the demonic energy. It was the unique overlord on the demon continent at that time. Even the beasts of the Earth Immortal stage that occupied the core of the demon continent had to look up to its existence. How could the ordinary magic weapons in the mortal world be comparable to it? For the 8th grade human immortal beast, as long as Gao Yu could resist a few times, the long vine of Sun Qingxue could turn into a deadly long snake, tightly entangling the other party. Once it was entangled by the long vine of Sun Qingxue, it was basically the final result. No beasts that were entangled could break free. They could only watch the long vine get tighter and tighter, and then lose the ability to move. Even if there was no need for other people to attack, Sun Qingxue alone could strangle the beasts that were entangled alive. The scene of the 8th grade human immortal beast being strangled alive could really scare many people. At the same time, it also made the masters of the Blue Cloud sect suddenly have a feeling of exaltation. It was no longer the Green Jade Immortal Island that excelled in the front. With the addition of Sun Qingxue, the efficiency of the four women in killing the beasts has doubled in a short time. Shi Shanshan and Sun Qingxue both had a trump card that could kill the beasts, and the two took turns to rest, which was more efficient than before. This performance was still based on the fact that Gong Sunling was not interested in these beasts. Otherwise, with the power of Gong Suanling's Mountain River geographical map, plus the thousands of masters of the Deshang stage and 10 masters of the highest level, they dare not say that they could kill the 8th grade human immortal beast, but it was not a problem to collect it alive. Any cultivator in the mortal world, as long as they entered the Mountain River geographical map, if they did not have the means to come out, then their fate was basically doomed. Fortunately, Gong Sunling did not want to collect these breeding beasts that had been invaded by the demonic aura for many years. Otherwise, those who saw it would definitely be even more dumbfounded. The common characteristic of the four women was that they were all Yang Chen's wives. In this way, the reputation of Yang Chen's meticulous planning was firmly on his head. At least so far, Yang Chen has not made any mistakes in the matter of the demon continent. Now everyone is waiting to see how the final Earth Immortal level beasts will end and how Yang Chen's refining of the prolonging life pill will go. The longevity extending pill had basically reached the final stage. With the improvement of Yang Chen's cultivation base, coupled with the improvement of his ability to control the fire, especially with the great improvement of the performance of the profound spirit furnace, there was also a spirit with the same excellent ability to control the fire. Now even if Yang Chen refined the prolonging life pill, this kind of experimental high-level medicinal pill, it only took 5 years before and after. In the past 5 years, Yang Chen has been carefully refining this brand new medicinal pill according to the principles of the pill recipe left by the predecessors, combined with his own understanding, using pure Yang True Fire and pure Yin True Fire. Yang Chen used 2 of the human immortal grade 6 devilish beads at a time. Under the repeated refining of 2 kinds of 7th grade fire seeds, it has now gradually become a pill. Because of the special effects of the profound spirit furnace, the unfinished prolonging life pill at this time already has traces of the 2nd grade refining. Before, it was simply refining with pure Yang True Fire and pure Yin True Fire, and the white fire seed given by Li Qing had not been used. At this point, it was almost time to use it. Big Brother Li Qing said that the white fire seed could improve the efficacy. Since it has already shocked people, then it would be better to make people more shocked. Although it sounded good to be able to increase one's lifespan by 100 years, if it could increase more, no one would reject it. Yang Chen now wants all the people in the mortal world to have an absolute concept. Now the strongest alchemist is Yang Chen. Even if he ascends to the spiritual world, he also wants people to know that he can refine medicinal pills to extend life, and he is not an ordinary cultivator who can be pinched by others. No one knows the cruelty of the competition in the spiritual world better than Yang Chen, and no one knows what kind of enemy Yang Chen will face after ascending. Even if the profound heaven sect can't say a little bit of blame for the destruction of the Taishaman in the mortal world, they will never give up, especially since the 2 siblings, Yang Lan and Yang Lan, have ascended. At least in the early stage, the profound heaven sect will definitely secretly target Yang Chen and the people around him. When the Taishaman were destroyed, Yang Chen did not kill Yang Lan and Yang Lan, which was a bit intentional by Yang Chen. The tragedy of Yang Chen's previous life, Yang Lan could be said to be the culprit. If he was killed so simply, how could the hatred in Yang Chen's heart be easily ended? If he wanted to kill Yang Lan, he would have killed him when Yang Lan was in the foundation stage. Why would he wait until now? How could he let Yang Lan suffer all the hardships of Yang Chen's previous life before he could die? Since Yang Lan liked to stir up trouble like this, he would simply let him stir up enough. It would be best if he could even play with the profound heaven sect. Of course, what Yang Chen liked most was to let the people of the profound heaven sect toss Yang Lan and be tortured by his own people. This was the best way for Yang Chen to vent his hatred. However, the premise to achieve his goal was that Yang Chen could really stand firm in the spiritual world. A better way to stand firm, in addition to a strong combat power, was to have a skill that made people look at him with admiration. Yang Chen's alchemy was the kind of powerful skill that absolutely made people look at him with admiration. Even the 6th-grade alchemist in the spiritual world had not refined a medicinal pill that could extend life. Only in the immortal world, the 9th-grade alchemist could achieve such an effect in the 9 Revolutions golden pill. Now whether the longevity pill could amaze the world with a single brilliant feat depended on this moment. Yang Chen now took back all other thoughts and concentrated on controlling the white fire seed, slowly approaching the 2nd-grade longevity pill that had been vaguely formed. It had to be said that Big Brother Li Cheng's words were indeed correct. The white fire seed was indeed the most suitable fire seed for alchemy. As soon as the fire seed touched the longevity pill, it immediately wrapped the longevity pill. The firepower was just right, and there was no need to worry about accidentally burning the medicinal pill. Even the dragon spirit was amazed, but at this critical moment, the dragon spirit only let out 2 praises, and there was no other sound. In fact, it was impossible for the dragon spirit to know more about the white fire seed. He just thought that the white fire seed was a 7th-grade fire seed. He didn't know the pattern of the 2 dragons playing with a pearl at all. The white fire seed began to burn the life-prolonging pill spontaneously. In the amazement of Yang Chen and the dragon spirit, 1 person and 1 dragon spirit watched the looming shape of the 2nd revolving life-prolonging pill, slowly adding a dragon-shaped pill mark, becoming a 3 revolving life-prolonging pill. Chapter 1501. Elder Zhou of Yin Yang Demon School, who had never relaxed for a moment in the past 5 years, was waiting for the results of Yang Chen's alchemy with trepidation. He couldn't help but be nervous. It was related to his own hands and feet and longevity. Even if Elder Zhou was already a master of the Supreme Realm and his cultivation had reached the point where he could not stop external things, even if Yang Chen had said before that the problem was not big, but before it was fully implemented, Elder Zhou could not help but feel a little guilty. Yang Chen's eyes, which had been closed, suddenly opened, and the alchemy furnace floating beside him began to slowly fall to the ground. Seeing this scene, Elder Zhou's heart was hanging again. Although he did not see any signs of refining failure for the time being, Elder Zhou could not fully believe that the refining had been successful before he saw the longevity pill. Yang Chen took a long breath. A smile appeared on his face, and he smiled at Elder Zhou, who was staring at him nervously over there. Elder Zhou, fortunately I did not fail. Listening to Yang Chen's words, Elder Zhou's heart finally completely fell into his stomach. A sentence of "fortunately" made him feel that his 100 years of waiting and the hard work of the 5 years of protection seemed to have been rewarded in an instant. The lid of the profound spirit furnace flew up automatically, and a golden elixir in the middle slowly flew up and slowly fell into the hands of Yang Chen. The dazzling golden color made people happy, especially the 3 clear dragon patterns on the surface. It made people unable to shift their eyes away. 3. Third-grade refining? Elder Zhou's eyes were straight, even with the state of mind of the human immortal level. He could not help but lose all of it at this moment. He stared at the golden elixir, and a few words began to stutter. He could not believe what he saw. The longevity pill, which could almost be said to be a legendary elixir, was the first time that Yang Chen refined it, and it was still an experimental situation. It was not an ordinary first-grade refining, it was a third-grade refining. What kind of concept was this? Thinking of this, Elder Zhou's breathing also became rapid. The reason why Yang Chen decided to refine the 3rd grade, apart from Yang Chen's firm belief that there was no problem with the elixir, what other reason could there be? This also meant that he no longer had to worry about his hands and feet, and could completely recover. Of course, the good news could not be enjoyed alone. Whether it was Yang Chen or Elder Zhou, they did not want Elder Zhou to take the longevity pill so easily. Some things still happened in the public, and it was the best effect for many people to see it. Basically, the representatives of the major sects who stayed in the pure Yang side palace had not left. During the 5 years of Yang Chen's alchemy, everyone had been waiting in the pure Yang side palace, waiting for news. Finally, they waited for Yang Chen and Elder Zhou to appear in front of everyone with a smile. What happened next was only natural. Under countless expectant gazes, Elder Zhou took the 3 revolutions life-prolonging pill and was about to put it into his mouth. Wait a minute, Elder Zhou, take it with this medicinal pill, the effect will be better. Yang Chen held a jade bottle in his hand and handed it to Elder Zhou. A round elixir was poured out of the jade bottle. The people present had good eyesight, and their knowledge was also extraordinary. At a glance, they recognized that it was a questioning inner heart pill. However, on this questioning inner heart pill, there were 5 clear dragon patterns. 5th grade questioning inner heart pill? God, how was it possible? The people who saw this elixir almost went crazy. The 5th grade Lingji mushroom jade pill was already a shocking thing for everyone, but in the end, Lingji mushroom jade pill was for the masters below the Yuanying stage. The difficulty of its own grade was not particularly high. Many 3rd grade or even 4th grade alchemist masters could easily refine it. To put it bluntly, if the 2nd grade alchemist master broke out, it was not impossible to successfully refine the Lingji mushroom jade pill. But what kind of elixir was the questioning inner heart pill? Not to mention the ordinary 4th grade alchemist master, even Master Deng Ya of Danding sect, who was about to touch the threshold of the 5th grade alchemist master, had always been helpless, as if it was the patent of the 5th grade alchemist master. Now Yang Chen casually took out a 5th grade questioning inner heart pill. This grade of elixir could be refined by the 5th grade. What level of elixir did Yang Chen's alchemy level reach, the 6th grade? Everyone was shocked, but they were also secretly guessing. No one dared to say it, but the way they looked at Yang Chen changed again. A single 3rd grade longevity pill, Yang Chen could already be sure that Elder Zhou's hands and feet could be restored, but since it was publicity plus doing a favor, then it would be better to do a favor, and the effect of publicity would be better. A 5th grade questioning inner heart pill was not in the eyes of Yang Chen, but it could leave a deeper impression on the people present. Elder Zhou couldn't say anything else. Such a huge favor wasn't something that could be repaid in a few words. Anyway, he already owed a big favor, so he might as well owe a bigger one. At the moment, Elder Zhou did not hesitate. He raised his hand and put the 2 elixirs into his mouth, swallowed them, then sat cross-legged and began to slowly wait for the elixir to take effect. Almost at the same time as the elixir entered the abdomen, a surging vitality began to radiate from Elder Zhou's body. Everyone who felt this vitality couldn't help but feel relaxed, as if something bad in the body was forced out of the body by this vitality. My internal injuries. Amazing. Comfortable. A series of words came from the crowd not far away. Not only did they feel comfortable, but the most shocking thing was that some people's internal injuries were actually slowly recovering under the influence of this surging vitality. This was just a little medicinal aura emitted by Elder Zhou. What would happen if a real elixir was taken? On the other side, Elder Zhou's body emitted more and more vitality, and at the same time, his body began to slowly change. The most obvious change was that his face, which was already slightly loose and densely covered with wrinkles, began to slowly stretch, and his skin became noticeably more elastic. His arm! Someone suddenly exclaimed. Only then did people notice that Elder Zhou had lost half of his arm. The originally short arm was slowly growing at a speed visible to the naked eye. When it grew to a normal length, a wrist appeared, followed by half a palm, then a whole palm, and then fingers. All of them began to grow. The broken leg was the same, growing bit by bit. Knees, calves, ankles, soles of feet, toes, all slowly appeared. It was like magic, very magical. Everyone present was a successful cultivator, and even the weakest was at the original infant stage. What kind of magic could not be seen through in front of them? However, these changes of Elder Zhou were obviously not magic, but something that was really happening to Elder Zhou's body. The newly grown arms and legs were very delicate, very different from the original ones, and could be seen at a glance. Broken limbs regrown. Grandmaster Yang's prolonging life pill could actually regrow broken limbs. Chapter 1502. In fact, Yang Chen had hinted that Elder Zhou could regrow his limbs when he first came to seek treatment. However, everyone had chosen to ignore this information. This was simply too shocking. Even a great supreme elder couldn't do it with his cultivation base. Could a mere elixir do it? Now, under the watchful eyes of the crowd, Elder Zhou's severed limbs were growing back bit by bit. Was there anything more shocking than this? What happened next was even more shocking. Just as everyone saw Elder Zhou's arms and legs slowly grow back, they thought that this was the limit. However, what happened next shocked them even more. Right in front of everyone's eyes, Elder Zhou, who was sitting cross-legged and absorbing the elixir's power, suddenly erupted with an extremely shocking aura. This aura seemed a little neutral and peaceful at first, but it quickly began to rise. It became more and more violent and gave everyone an endless pressure. Not good. Guard. The person who accompanied Elder Zhou to the Yin-Yang Demon School was Lady Fanghua. When she saw this scene, she immediately realized what was going to happen. For a moment, she couldn't care less about the fact that they were in the pure Yang side palace and immediately gave instructions. As she spoke, several experts from the Yin-Yang Demon School, including Lady Fanghua, rushed to Elder Zhou's side and separated him from everyone else. Suppressed by Elder Zhou's aura, many people's cultivation bases were insufficient and were still struggling bitterly. The few remaining people who weren't affected had already guessed what had happened. Elder Zhou, who was a 6th-grade human immortal, had his cultivation base stagnant for 100 years after being seriously injured and severed. Now, it had started to surge again and there were signs of a breakthrough. How was this possible? After being seriously injured for 100 years, he had relied on Yang Chen's 5th-grade Lingji Du pills to suppress his injuries. He was already considered lucky that he didn't erupt. He could barely fight with some of the weaker cultivators, but it was simply impossible for him to increase his cultivation base. The most unbelievable thing had already happened in front of everyone. Elder Zhou's cultivation base had actually started to increase after taking Yang Chen's prolonging life pill. It was even more unbelievable than severed limbs regrowing. Whether everyone could accept it or not, the truth was happening in front of everyone. In just half a day's time, Elder Zhou's aura had reached its peak, and then it exploded. When everyone tried their best to eliminate the influence of Elder Zhou's aura, they were shocked to find that Elder Zhou's aura had already returned to normal. It had only returned to normal, but compared to before, Elder Zhou's aura was now more powerful. Elder Zhou didn't deliberately hide anything. Experienced people could tell that he had already entered the 7th-grade human immortal realm. The entire place was silent. Everyone watched in shock as Elder Zhou opened his eyes and held his newly grown arms in front of his eyes, as if he was to confirm something. No one spoke, afraid that they would disturb Elder Zhou. They were also afraid that they would wake up from their dreams and discover that everything was just an illusion. Elder Zhou looked at his newly grown arms and legs in disbelief. He carefully moved his fingers and toes, feeling the connection of flesh and blood that he hadn't felt in over 100 years. His face was filled with disbelief. From the looks of it, he didn't expect Yang Chen's 2 pills to bring him such a pleasant surprise. Even Elder Zhou, a 6th-grade human immortal, was in such a state. The onlookers were so shocked that they couldn't even make a sound. Only when Elder Zhou finally confirmed that his arms and legs were real and that he had casually smashed a nearby pillar did the crowd burst into cheers. "That pillar is very expensive, Elder Zhou." Yang Chen's voice reached everyone's ears at that moment. The people who heard Yang Chen's voice were all stunned, and the sound of cheering could not help but be smaller. "Count it on me. I'll compensate you with a gold pillar." Elder Zhou was in a great mood. How could he not tell that Yang Chen was teasing him? He laughed and replied, "It was just a pillar. Even if it was made entirely of gold, it was nothing to a grand supreme expert. Elder Zhou would be more than willing to build a palace out of gold, let alone a golden pillar, for him to regrow his limbs and raise his cultivation level from a 6th-grade human immortal to a 7th-grade human immortal. Regrowing limbs was a fact, but the most shocking thing was that it could actually raise his cultivation level. In particular, this kind of increase was not as simple as consuming the demonic bead. It was a kind of stimulation from the inside out. Elder Zhou's recuperation for the past 100 years was also a process of accumulation. It was only after the stimulation of the life-prolonging pill that it was completely triggered. However, whether or not it could really extend his lifespan by 100 years remained to be verified. This kind of thing could not be concluded immediately. With Elder Zhou's cultivation level as a 7th-grade human immortal, if there were no accidents, he would have no problem living until he ascended to the celestial realm. How could they prove that the life-prolonging pill had the effect of extending his lifespan? However, the vitality that Elder Zhou released at the beginning was not fake. Everyone present could feel the surging vitality. Some of the weaker cultivators even had their internal injuries healed under the influence of the overflowing medicinal power. One could imagine what kind of benefits Elder Zhou would receive after absorbing most of the medicinal power. No one could prove that it could extend one's lifespan, but there was no need to prove it. What else was there to prove? How was he going to prove it? Find an old man who was about to die and let Master Yang feed him the pill to prove it? That was not giving Master Yang face, but directly rejecting him from Master Yang's elixir. He would never have a chance again. Among them, the happiest was Elder Zhou, followed by Lady Fenghua. Even though Lady Fenghua's heart was completely tied to Yang Chen, the fact that the sect's Grand Supreme Elder had become a 7th-grade human immortal was something to be happy about. On the contrary, Yang Chen was not too happy. Although he was happy that the life-prolonging pill had been successfully refined, when Li Cheng had seen the elixir recipe and nodded, he already knew that it would not fail. But now, he was not as happy as the others. "Master Yang, we are indebted to you for saving our sect's elder. The entire Yin-Yang Demon School is indebted to you." As the person in charge, Lady Fenghua was naturally the one to speak. She immediately cupped her hands and thanked Yang Chen. Yin-Yang Demon School owes Master Yang a favor. In the future, Master Yang only needs to instruct us. Yin-Yang Demon School will definitely do it for Master Yang, even if it means destroying the entire sect. Lady Fenghua's words made everyone fall into deep thought. They began to ponder the deeper meaning behind her words. Chapter 1503. The purpose of everyone coming to the Pure Yang Side Palace for a few years was to know the authenticity of the prolonging life pill. Now that there was no doubt, everyone was thinking about how to get the prolonging life pill from Master Yang. Judging from Master Yang's past practices, Master Yang was not the kind of unreasonable person. As long as the price was right, not to mention the prolonging life pill, it was estimated that Master Yang could provide the pill recipe of the prolonging life pill. What everyone wanted to know now was what kind of price was needed to buy the prolonging life pill. Yin-Yang Demon School's request for Master Yang to treat Elder Zhou's illness was not agreed at the beginning. Master Yang was very kind on this point. Since they were allies, he would treat the illness first and talk about it later. Now that Lady Fenghua represented Yin-Yang Demon School's statement, it was equivalent to directly setting a price for Master Yang's prolonging life pill. A casual request from a super sect, no matter where it was an unattainable price. "Thank you for your kindness," Yang Chen slowly said in the midst of everyone's excitement. "Refining pills to save people is the nature of an alchemist. There is no need to be so grand. One prolonging life pill, 5 years of time, I don't dare to break the promise of Yin Yang Demon School. How about this, 5 human immortal grade 6 demonic killing beads, or 1 human immortal grade 7 demonic killing bead will be enough. As soon as Yang Chen said this, everyone's heart suddenly relaxed a lot. At the same time, there was also respect for Master Yang. In the end, Master Yang was still a kind person. Lady Fenghua's promise could be understood as her joy in the sect's elder Zhou's recovery and the improvement of his cultivation base. This kind of mood was understandable. But once Lady Fenghua's promise became the norm, it made many people embarrassed. Not every sect was a super sect, and not everyone had the face or importance to let the sect casually agree to Yang Chen's condition. If they really followed Lady Fenghua's proposal, then most people would have no chance to enjoy the benefits of the prolonging life pill. Fortunately, Master Yang's request was relatively kind, which made many people see hope. And from the high price of Lady Fenghua to the price of Master Yang, everyone's psychology was completely acceptable. No one would know that at this moment, Yang Chen and Lady Fenghua didn't know how to laugh. Just now Madame Fenghua's statement and Yang Chen's refusal was simply a game made by the two people, in order to let everyone accept Yang Chen's price. Originally, Yang Chen accepted the fire seed, but now basically Yang Chen has collected almost all the fire seeds in the world. With the white fire seed, the others had little meaning and could only provide some supplement. In Yang Chen's profound spirit furnace, there were more than 20 kinds of 7th-grade fire seeds that needed to be absorbed, and the fire seeds could no longer meet Yang Chen's needs. There weren't many demonic baleful pearls above grade 5 human immortal realm. In the entire demon continent, the number of beasts that have reached this level was less than 1,000 or 2,000, and they were basically in the hands of the major sect. 90% of human immortal grade 8 and higher level demonic baleful beads would probably be collected by Gao Yu, Shi Shanshan, and the other 2 girls. Yang Chen's move could be said to have taken all the demonic beads of the mortal world into his own hands. There was no one who didn't like prolonging life pills. To be able to use a few demonic baleful beads to exchange for prolonging life pills, who wouldn't be happy? Although directly consuming the demonic baleful bead could also increase one's cultivation, how could it be as outstanding as refining the longevity-extending pill? Those who really needed the demonic bead to save their lives did not need the demonic bead above the 5th grade of human immortal realm. Those who had the demonic bead of this level were not short-sighted people. Since he didn't have the ability to concoct the prolonging life pill, of course, he would use it to exchange for it. It was likely that the sect had such a plan. If Yang Chen directly said that he wanted to collect all the high-level demonic beads, it would definitely make people unhappy in their hearts, thinking that Yang Chen was eating alone, and there would be all parties obstructing him. But now Yang Chen used the demonic bead to exchange for the prolonging life pill, which was another matter. A human immortal grade 6 demonic bead could be used by Yang Chen to refine a prolonging life pill, but it could be exchanged for 5 demonic bead. Speaking of it, Yang Chen alone accounted for 80% of the benefits of the high-level demonic bead. This was not all. Not only would many masters not be disgusted, but they would also be grateful. If it was only Yang Chen alone, there was no need to consider the favor of these masters and the sect, but now there was still Chunyang Palace. Not to mention the agreement between Yang Chen and the major sect before, even if it was just for the sake of Yang Chen's face, the development of Chunyang Palace would definitely be taken care of by the major sect. In that case, thank you Master Yang. Since Yang Chen had already made a decision, Lady Fenghua naturally cooperated and immediately complied. Elder Zhou did it quickly. Without saying anything, he took out 8 huge demonic beads alone and handed them to Yang Chen one by one with both hands. This was to heal him. Naturally, Elder Zhou would not let the sect pay for him. As a supreme master, and also a master who dared to explore the core area alone and survived, how could there be a lack of demonic beads? The 3 extra beads were for the 5th grade questioning inner heart pill. Others didn't know, but Elder Zhou himself knew very well that a 5th grade questioning inner heart pill saved him at least 20 years of hard work. This time, the improvement of his cultivation base, of course, had his own accumulation, the help of the prolonging life pill, and also the great role of the 5th grade questioning inner heart pill. Master Yang, if my sect wants to buy the Master Prolonging Life Pill, what price does it cost? Striking while the iron was hot, Lady Fanghua immediately asked Yang Chen this question almost at the moment after Elder Zhou sincerely paid the reward. It was common sense that there had never been a medicinal pill that could prolong life below the 9th grade. This level of pill recipe was definitely a good thing that even the people in the spiritual world and the immortal world wanted to fight for. Not everyone knew the 9th grade alchemist master. If this pill recipe could be obtained in the mortal world, maybe in the spiritual world, as long as there was a 5th or 6th grade alchemist master, they could successfully refine the prolonging life pill. That was an irresistible temptation for any master in any sect. The question was asked by Lady Fanghua, but Lady Fanghua was definitely not the only one who wanted to know the answer. Everyone looked at Master Yang Chen eagerly, eager for Yang Chen to be as kind as he was just now and give a surprising price, so that everyone could enjoy the wonderful feeling of having the pill recipe of the prolonging life pill. You don't want to know the price. Yang Chen was rarely reserved, and then he was very sincere to the people around him. Everyone, it's not that this Yang is selfish, it's just that when this Yang opens his mouth, it will hurt your feelings, so it's better not to open my mouth. If you need the prolonging life pill, you can exchange it with the demonic bead. This demonic bead is limited, even if there is a pill recipe. I think everyone can't find the medicinal materials, so it's not so troublesome. Chapter 1504. You don't want to know the price. Everyone's heart skipped a beat when they heard that. Although everyone was mentally prepared that the prescription of the prolongation pill would not be cheap, when Yang Chen said that in front of Lady Fanghua, everyone couldn't help but feel a little desperate. If even the Yin-Yang demon sect found it difficult to afford it, then which other sect would be able to afford it? Not to mention individuals, they didn't even need to think about it. Then, everyone heard Yang Chen's explanation, especially the last sentence. There are not many devilish pearls left. Hearing this, everyone suddenly reacted. That's right, there aren't many demonic baleful pearls left. Devilish pearls above grade 5 of human immortal realm were basically monopolized by the 11th sect, including Chunyang Palace. Even if other sect had the prescription, they wouldn't be able to get high-grade devilish pearls to refine pills. As for the representatives of the top 10 sect, everyone was also weighing whether the prescription or the elixir was more important. Looking at Yang Chen's attitude, he would definitely use the devilish pearls as the exchange condition, and it would definitely be a higher-grade devilish pearl, at least grade 8 or 9 of human immortal realm. According to this price, if they really bought the prescription, it was estimated that the sect wouldn't have any devilish pearls anymore. Which was more important, the prescription or the elixir? The devilish pearl was such a special thing, at least until now, no one had heard of it in other places. The spiritual realm and the immortal realm would definitely not tolerate the appearance of something like devil chi, so it was unknown whether there was a devilish pearl or not. No matter which sect it was, if they got a prescription without medicinal materials, they would have to think about it carefully. Needless to say, Yang Chen hadn't said the exact number. If it was really a fortune that would make the sect bankrupt, which sect could afford it? Either Yang Chen wasn't willing to sell it, so the price was high. Or Yang Chen absolutely valued this prescription and wanted an absolute high price. No matter which possibility it was, there was only one result, and that was that it would be an exorbitant price. No sect would be able to afford it. Everyone was thinking about whether they could afford it or whether it was worth it. None of them had thought about how to take it by force. Even if Chunyang Palace was the weakest among the 11th sect of the demon continent, no one dared to use this idea. Even if there were people who felt that they could easily subdue Yang Chen, no one dared to have such an idea. They didn't even dare to have such a thought. Not to mention others, wasn't the Hidden Dragon Cave Master and his followers a few years ago the most practical example? Just as he was about to touch Yang Chen, he was sent to the netherworld by Elder Zhou, whose arms and legs were broken. Back then, he was a grade 3 human immortal, but he died worse than a dog. If someone really had such an idea, it was estimated that he didn't have to wait for him to calculate Yang Chen. He didn't know how many people would always stare at Yang Chen's left and right, waiting for an opportunity to curry favor with Master Yang. No matter who it was, even if it was Elder Wang, who had the highest cultivation base in the mortal world, it was estimated that if he had this idea, he would be attacked by a group of people, and his head would be sent to Yang Chen. In any case, it was the people in charge of those big sects who had a headache. For ordinary cultivators, the prolonging life pill was simply an unreachable legend, and it basically had nothing to do with them. Those who could use this idea were all the few masters of the Deshang stage and supreme masters of the major sect who could fight against the human immortal. Knowing that the prolonging life pill was really effective, no one would not be tempted. This thing, even if it was not used for the time being, when he ascended to the spiritual world and the immortal world, it was definitely a good thing that people would pursue. The effect that could only be achieved by the 9 Revolutions Golden Pill could make many great principal golden immortals who were about to die crazy. If there was a condition, no matter what, it would definitely be exchanged for a few prolonging life pills first. Yang Chen had now put out the price tag to exchange. That day, even if others wanted to have an idea, it was estimated that they would not have a chance. For a time, all the capable people of the major sect couldn't sit still. As long as there was nothing important in their hands, they all went to the Pure Yang Side Palace to visit Yang Chen, and at the same time to order the prolonging life pill. Of course, the strongest few were now all concentrated in the core demon seal formation, competing for a few poor grade 8 and grade 9 human immortal beasts from the hands of Gao Yu and Shi Shanshan. The 4 women had now begun to try to hunt the grade 9 human immortal beast. The only one who could hunt the same level of beasts as the 4 women was Elder Wang, who was in grade 8 human immortal. The other sect's 6th and 7th grade human immortal beasts were already at their limit to deal with the grade 8 human immortal beast. Some even had to rely on joint efforts to complete it. Compared with the hunting efficiency of the 4 women, the difference couldn't be measured. The grade 9 human immortal beasts were completely beyond the imagination of ordinary cultivators in the mortal world. If the grade 10 human immortal Elder of Taishaman was still there, maybe these beasts on the demon continent were not enough, but now, except for Elder Wang, there were only 4 women left. The jaw-dropping protective magic weapons on the 4 women protected them exceptionally well. Even if they were attacked by the grade 9 human immortal beasts, Gong's Sunling could guarantee their safety. Coupled with the suppression of Gao Yu's Emperor Qi, Sun Qingshue's ultimate demonized demonic vine, and Shi Shanshan's supreme pure yang sword Qi, it was simply the most perfect killing combination. The only thing to note was that at the level of grade 9 human immortal, they were already the strongest in the mortal world. Even under the suppression of Gao Yu's Emperor Qi, they could only launch an attack far lower than their own cultivation level, but their defensive power would not be reduced. Instead, because the most powerful force was sealed in the body, the level of defense soared. Even Shi Shanshan's supreme pure yang sword Qi couldn't do it with one sword strike. A sword Qi could at most break the skin and muscles of the beast, far from hurting the internal organs. The strongest attack had such a flaw. Every time Shi Shanshan would condense all her strength to launch the strongest sword strike, and then immediately hide in Gong Suanling's mountain river geographical map to recover. The ultimate demonized demonic vine controlled by Sun Qingxue was also far from being complete, so even if it could entangle the beasts, it still couldn't completely imprison the beasts. The two sides always had to wrestle crazily in the process of fighting each other. At this time, even Gao Yu had to participate in the attack. The dragon horn double flying sword showed its most powerful offensive power at this time. Every sword strike, even if it couldn't hurt the beasts as deep as the supreme pure yang sword chi, but every time the attack saw blood, it could take away a mass of flesh and blood of the beast. Facing a grade 9 human immortal beast, the attacks of the four women always lasted for half a year or more to see the effect. Every grade 9 human immortal beast, when it died, seemed to have been cut by thousands of knives. Chapter 1505. This was something that couldn't be helped. The attack power of the four women was limited, and they could only use this kind of nibbling method to kill their opponents bit by bit. No one would laugh at the four women. A third-grade human immortal plus 3 late Deshang stage cultivators could join forces to kill a 9th-grade human immortal beast. Even if the masters of other sect dealt with the 8th-grade human immortal beast, they needed at least a 7th-grade human immortal and 5 to 8 5th-grade human immortal masters to do it, and the time consumption was far longer than that of the four women. The important thing was that they would inevitably be injured in the process of joining forces to attack. The only one who could fight against the 9th-grade human immortal beast was Elder Wang and his helpers. The four women killed 2 9th-grade human immortal beasts, but their team had not yet killed one. During this period of time, the four women had gone through another crazy training session. Although the killing was not as much as it was on the demon continent before, the experience of danger and harvest was far more than any period of time. Under the crazy pressure, the progress of the four women was amazing. Gao Yu's water and fire dual spirit power was becoming purer and purer, Gong Xuanling's spirit power was becoming longer and longer, and Sun Qingshua's progress in refining the ultimate demonized vine was also a bit faster. As for Shishanshan, every time she tried her best to release the supreme pure yang sword qi, she had a little more understanding of the sword qi. Every time she cultivated, she could absorb a little more of the original sword qi. Yang Chen opened 2 more furnaces of longevity pills during the four women's experience. This time it was not experimental, so it was no longer just refining a single one, but refining nearly 50 at a time. The 2 furnaces added up to 100. The first refining was because of the experimental exploration, so the speed was relatively slow. After that refining, Yang Chen has been completely familiar with the fire properties of pure Yang True Fire and pure Yin True Fire. He is also familiar with the fire properties of the white fire seed, and the refining technique is becoming more and more skillful. With the service and protection of 30 maids, Yang Chen's alchemy process was quite calm and comfortable. It only took him 8 years to open 2 furnaces. All the longevity extending pills that came out of the furnace were third revolution pills. The profound spirit furnace itself could improve the refining efficiency of the first grade, and the white fire seed also had such an effect. So, in the end, Yang Chen only carried out the refining of the first grade. 2 batches of 100 longevity prolonging pills had basically satisfied all the needs of the mortal world. On the demon continent, there were only more than 1,000 beasts that surpassed the 5th grade of human immortal, and the number of 6th and 7th grade human immortal added up to 7 or 800. 5 6th grade devilish beads or a 7th grade devilish bead could be exchanged for 1 prolongation pill. Excluding those owned by the people of Chunyang Palace, and those devilish beads left by other sect, it could be said that these 100 prolongation pills were enough to exchange for all the remaining qualified devilish beads. As for the demonic baleful beads of grade 8 and above human immortal stage, he believed that no one would take them out to exchange. Unless it was a last resort, but it would definitely not be in the mortal world. Speaking of which, most of the devilish beads of this level were in the hands of Yang Chen's 4 wives. According to this reasoning, in fact, 95% of the devilish beads above the 5th grade of human immortal in the core of the demon continent had fallen into the hands of Yang Chen's family. No one would be unhappy. those who had exchanged for the prolonging pill, which one of them was not smiling. This kind of prolonging pill, after the third grade refining, according to Yang Chen's estimation, could extend one's life by at least 1,000 years. Even in the immortal world, it was a hard currency that could be exchanged for a lot of wealth and favors at any time. After completing the refining, Yang Chen went straight to the core demon seal formation, and at the same time, he sent someone to inform all the people who had booked the prolonging pill here to hand it over to the core demon seal formation. 15 years passed in a flash, and Yang Chen had to see the situation of the 4 women. In the demon seal formation, there were no more than 20 beasts left. One was an Earth Immortal level beast, and the remaining dozen were all at the 10th grade of human immortal cultivation base. There were only 2 teams that could deal with the 10 human immortal beasts. One was led by Elder Wang, who was an 8th grade human immortal, and the other was the 4 wives of Yang Chen. During this period of time, the 4 women had completely alarmed all the masters who knew about it. The major sect on the demon continent, except for those who had to take turns in the sect, all the other masters above the Deshang stage had gathered in the core demon seal formation, watching the battle between the 2 teams and the 10 human immortal beasts from a distance. This was a rare experience in a lifetime. Even if they couldn't participate in the battle because of their cultivation, it was also a very precious experience to be able to observe with their spiritual awareness from a distance. How many opportunities could there be in the mortal world to see a 10th grade human immortal master? The performance of the 2 teams was completely different. On Elder Wang's side, it could basically be said that Elder Wang alone bore almost 90% of the attacks of the beasts, and the remaining 10% was taken by several other 7th grade human immortal masters. From the perspective of the scene, the attacks of the beasts accounted for 90%, and Elder Wang and the others only had a 10% chance to fight back. It was worth noting that Elder Wang's team was not entirely the masters of his own sect, but the joint effort of Elder Wang and the 6th, 7th grade human immortal masters of the sect. The feeling that the 4 women brought to the major sect was really a little shocked and stressed. Even the 4 juniors could have such a performance. It would be unreasonable if they didn't join forces to show off in any case. However, even if so many great masters joined forces, in front of the performance of the 4 women, they still had to be overshadowed. Under the joint attack of the 4 women, the 10th grade human immortal beasts were completely suppressed. Unlike Elder Wang's side, the attack and defense of the 4 women were completely reversed. The attacks of the 4 women accounted for 90%, and the attacks of the beasts only accounted for 10%. Gong Sunling alone took all the attacks of the beasts, and Sun Qingshue's demonic vines completely entangled and tightened the beasts, imprisoning them more and more tightly. Gao Yu and Shi Shanshan completely became the main force of the attack. Wherever the flying sword and sword chi went, they could leave a deep wound on the beast's body every time. When Yang Chen arrived, it was just in time for the first 10th grade human immortal beast that the 4 women were facing. It was already an arrow at the end of its flight. Even in this situation, every attack of the beast still contained the attack power to break mountains and split stones. Ordinary masters of the great vehicle stage couldn't take any of the attacks at all. The body of the beasts was full of wounds, and its whole body was covered in blood. In some places, even the bones and some internal organs were exposed. At this time, the attacks of the 4 women were all concentrated on the head of the beast. They seemed to be aware of the arrival of their husband and wanted to end the battle quickly. Qi, an earth-shattering sword Qi sent out by Shi Shanshan, finally broke through the ultimate defense of the beasts and pierced into the mind of the beasts. Then, Gao Yu's flying sword of water and fire also flew into the mind of the beasts from the mouth that was opened. At this moment, Sun Qingshue's ultimate demonic vines suddenly tightened, and the beasts had completely lost their resistance. Chapter 1506. Boom! When the beast suddenly lost its strength and fell to the ground, hundreds of miles away in the distance, in a crowd of people who were probing with their spiritual awareness, there was a sudden noise. The worst masters were also in the Deshang stage. At this moment, their performance was not much better than those who were watching the excitement in the market, and they were also shocked. In the history that people knew, this was the first time that someone in the mortal world had dealt with a 10th-grade human immortal master. Of course, Yang Chen's killing of the Taishaman's 10th-grade human immortal elder was not counted. Except for Gao Yu and Gong Sunling, no outsider knew. Even Lady Fanghua thought that Yang Chen used some way to break the demon seal formation and triggered the tribulation of those people to let them ascend. She would never believe that Yang Chen alone could kill the 10th-grade human immortal great elder. She had never heard of it before, but all this in front of her really happened hundreds of miles away and happened under the eyes of so many masters. A group of people from the Green Jade, Immortal Island, and the Blue Cloud sect had been so excited that their lips began to tremble. The elders of the Pure Yang Palace, including the head of the palace, were completely speechless. There was no other expression on their faces except for a smile. From their performance at the moment, they couldn't even speak, they could know how they were feeling at the moment. Was there anything more to give the sect face than this? The two younger generation disciples of their own sect, together with the two younger generation disciples of the Green Jade, Immortal Island, and the Blue Cloud sect, teamed up to kill the 10th-grade human immortal beast. In this world, which other sect had such a glorious story? Even if the Green Jade, Immortal Island, and the Blue Cloud sect had the same share, didn't they only have one disciple? Compared with the excitement of these sect, people in other sect were shocked and had incredible thoughts. How was this possible? Gao Yu, who was a 3rd-grade human immortal with 3 women in the late Deshang stage, actually killed a 10th-grade human immortal beast. If this thing was told to them by others, they would definitely slap that person's face on the spot. Bragging wouldn't be so outrageous, right? But this had happened right in front of him, right under his nose. How could he be bragging? Even if some people felt that he was bragging, there were also a few grade 7 and grade 8 human immortals fighting for their lives over 100 li away from the 4 women. Could it be that they were hallucinating as well? How did they do it? That magic treasure of Gong Sunling that could block the attack of a stage 10 human immortal, what kind of treasure was it? Everyone was full of curiosity about Gong Sunling's life source magic weapon. In contrast, Gao Yu's dragon horn double flying sword, Sun Qingshue's ultimate demonized vine, and Shi Shanshan's sword qi have been used many times, so everyone can see it clearly. Apart from shock, there were also a few others who felt a little sad. Shi Wushuang and the Murong sisters couldn't help but feel a little jealous as they watched them leave. They were all Yang Chen's women. Because the 4 of them got married early, not only were they wives, but they also received special care from Yang Chen. If this matter in front of them had nothing to do with Yang Chen, it would be a ghost. Yang Chen was so sure that he could solve the problem of the demonic energy in the demon continent. How could he not arrange for a backup plan to deal with these beasts? Now thinking about it, they still didn't have enough status in Yang Chen's heart, so they were not allowed to participate in such a thing. Perhaps there was telepathy. Just when Shi Wushuang and the Murong sisters were a little sad, Yang Chen's voice sounded in their ears at this time. Go and pick them up, they are also at the end of their flight. Shi Wushuang and the Murong sisters were shocked, and they could no longer care about anything else. 6 iron-winged flying eagles appeared in an instant and flew quickly towards Gao Yu and the other women. A group of onlookers saw someone flying towards Gao Yu and the other women, and there was an uproar, and some people immediately wanted to rush over. Before they could get up, they were quickly pulled by sharp-eyed people. Someone had already noticed the arrival of Yang Chen. At this time, Shi Wushuang and the Murong sisters were picking up the 4 women. They were all Yang Chen's women, so it didn't matter. But if someone else rushed out at this time, it would definitely be misunderstood. How tempting was the 10th grade human immortal bead. As long as someone rushed out, it would not be 1 or 2 people who would misunderstand. A group of people watched Shi Wuxuang and the Murong sisters quickly rush to the four women, and then pulled four of the Murong sisters and Gao Yu and the other women on the iron-winged flying eagle. Shi Wuxuang and the remaining one quickly put away the 10th-grade human immortal beast, and then quickly rushed back. At this time, everyone realized that they were only surprised, and did not find that Gao Yu and the other women were also on the verge of collapse. This could be seen from the fact that the four women didn't even have the strength to collect the 10th-grade human immortal bead. But it was normal to think about it. After all, it was a 10th-grade human immortal beast. If it was outside, to put it bluntly, it was not a wild guess that a beast would kill all the cultivators. If it weren't for the fact that Gao Yu and the other three women got the method to deal with the beast from Yang Chen, they really didn't know how to deal with this level of beast. After the initial shock, everyone wanted to understand a truth, this was Yang Chen's plan. The method to deal with the beast must be recorded in some ancient books in the Zhao family manner, but it has not been made public to everyone. No one could say anything wrong about Yang Chen in this. Yang Chen not only took everyone with him when he developed the demon continent, but also took on the main task of purifying the demonic energy. Without Yang Chen, there would be no chance for everyone on the demon continent. For this alone, everyone had to be grateful. As for Yang Chen's concealment of the method to deal with high-level beasts, it could only be said that Yang Chen deserved it. It must be known that Yang Chen had no obligation to tell everyone anything. If they still complained after giving great benefits for no reason, then so many Deshang stage great masters' cultivation for so many years would be in vain. Master Yang. The women over there were still flying back, and everyone here had already begun to greet Yang Chen. After Yang Chen responded one by one, he didn't talk much nonsense with everyone and directly took out dozens of jade bottles. The people who had ordered the longevity pill from Yang Chen were basically all here, just in time to hand it over. After obtaining the life-prolonging pills they had ordered, the Grand Elders were all beaming with joy. They carefully put away the jade bottles in the safest way possible. During the conversation, Gao Yu and the other three women had been brought back. Everyone immediately stopped pestering Yang Chen and divided into small circles to continue to share the experience of watching the four women fight the beasts. Thank you for your hard work. Seeing that the four women had a little spirit after a while, Yang Chen couldn't help but feel a little distressed. With a wave of his hand, he received all the women into the Dragon Palace. Chapter 1507. Gao Yu and the others were because of the continuous high-pressure battles, always facing the pressure of the 10 human immortal beasts, they suddenly relaxed at the moment of victory, which led to their weakness. It's just that the four women fighting the 10th-grade human immortal beast was so amazing that from the moment everyone saw the beast fall to the ground and die, they entered the shock and ignored the situation of the four women. If it weren't for Yang Chen's timely discovery, the four women would not have been able to hold on for a long time, and they would have collapsed to the ground. It was no wonder that the four women would suddenly become soft at the moment of victory. This battle was more difficult than all the battles in the previous 10 years. The time alone lasted for more than a year. The four women always had to face the threat of the 10th-grade human immortal beast, and if they were not careful, they would die. This kind of battle in the face of death, and also in the fire, was more effective than the decades of experience in the demon continent. In the Dragon Palace, there were many good things to recover, especially with Yang Chen there. However, what surprised the women was that there were 30 more beautiful women in the Dragon Palace, all of whom were in the peak Deshang stage. At this moment, they were like maids and began to serve the women. This was in the Dragon Palace of Yang Chen. It was absolutely impossible for any irrelevant people to mix in. The women were just surprised at first, and then they were calm. Obviously, this was the arrangement of their husband. Since it was the kindness of their husband, of course, the women would accept it. The four women were still weak, and this was not a good time to ask questions. Everyone enjoyed the service of the beautiful maids with peace of mind, but their eyes were silently exchanging doubts with each other. Don't be suspicious, these are the maids that Lady Fanghua gave me. Yang Chen took the women in and let them see these maids in order to explain to them. Now looking at the faces of the women, how could he not know what they were thinking? He just smiled and explained calmly. Lady Fanghua helped me a lot in some things, Wu Shuang Murong, don't target her in the future. Since he wanted to explain, Yang Chen had to make it clear. However, there were some things that could not be described too clearly. He could only vaguely express the reason. Gao Yu and Gong Sunling guessed something. They later inquired about the situation of the Taishanmen's extermination, and they also knew that Lady Fanghua played a role in it, intentionally or unintentionally. Now that he thought about it, that should be what he was doing to help Yang Chen. For such a big thing, Gao Yu of course had to be grateful. Even if Yang Chen took Lady Fanghua as his mistress, it was also what he should do. Otherwise, Gao Yu would have to worry about whether Lady Fanghua's mouth was safe. As for the few maids, Gao Yu didn't care about them at all. Gao Yu had accepted the 7 concubines from famous families, so how could she not accept a few maids? Gong Sunling was the first person to deal with Lady Fanghua. She had been seduced by Lady Fanghua, so she was relatively familiar with her. She was also worried about whether Lady Fanghua was a threat to Yang Chen, but Gong Sunling thought more than Gao Yu. It seemed that her husband had subdued Lady Fanghua. Otherwise, Lady Fanghua would not use so many beautiful maids to solidify his favor. Gong Sunling didn't care about her husband having one more witch. She was originally a traditional gentlewoman. She had never cared about her husband having 3 wives and 4 concubines. In that case, what was one more Lady Fanghua? Even if these beautiful women had skin contact with Yang Chen, they were just maids, so he could enjoy it with peace of mind. Shi Shanshan and Sun Qingxue were relatively simple. Sun Qingxue only cared that she was in Yang Chen's heart. She didn't care about anything else. Shi Shanshan was cold, so she didn't care about how many women Yang Chen had around him. As for Shi Wushuang and the Murong sisters, they were the ones who captured Lady Fanghua and sent her to Yang Chen. Psychologically speaking, they felt superior to Lady Fanghua and didn't think that Lady Fanghua was a threat at all. Now that Lady Fanghua had sent so many maids to please them, they certainly wouldn't refuse them. In particular, Yang Chen specifically told them not to target Lady Fanghua. Obviously, their status was far higher than Lady Fanghua, so they naturally wouldn't have any grudges. Of course, everyone's vision was high enough. They all understood that Dao, Demon, and Dao were not mortal enemies, but limited competition and cooperation. Yang Chen's wives and concubines were all from Dao sects, so demon sects and demon clans would naturally have thoughts. With the addition of Lady Fanghua, it was just right to balance things out. Yang Chen thought that he would have to spend a lot of effort to calm the women down, but he didn't expect that with just a few vague words, the women would act as if nothing had happened. What surprised Yang Chen the most was the way the women calmly and naturally enjoyed the service of the maids, as if this was how it should be, which made him very puzzled. Speaking of which, in terms of dealing with women, Yang Chen was definitely a rookie. Even if he now had 4 wives, 7 concubines, 1 mistress and 30 maids, he still didn't understand the minds of women. The accident was an accident. Yang Chen's heart was also relieved. Looking at the women calmly enjoying themselves, especially the 4 women slowly recovering their energy, Yang Chen also put his mind on serious matters. In the next few days, you guys will challenge the remaining demonic beasts together. With all his wives and concubines present, Yang Chen certainly couldn't be too biased. Murong, how's the tempering of your natal magic weapons? If you can fight, use your 5 elements formation to assist Aling in defense, and take time to participate in the attack. Wu Shuang, you stay on the periphery and support Shanshan's attack. The Murong sisters naturally nodded, and sure Wu Shuang was equally happy. Not to mention anything else, the experience of fighting with a 10th grade human immortal in the mortal world couldn't be bought with any amount of wealth. She was Yang Chen's concubine, otherwise there would be no such opportunity. In addition, I will practice a cultivation method with you guys, which can make your spiritual power more pure. In front of his wives and maids, Yang Chen didn't mind talking about dual cultivation. This idea only came to Yang Chen after Lady Fanghua gave him 30 maids. Yang Chen could use the glamorous spirit technique to condense his spiritual power, so could the women. They just had to go through Yang Chen. Yang Chen absorbed the impurities in the women's spiritual power and then transferred it to Lady Fanghua and the 30 maids. Everyone took what they needed and complemented each other. There was no problem for the women to dual cultivate with their husband. On the same day, in the Dragon Palace, Yang Chen pampered all the women. Naturally, Yang Chen also followed the method provided by Lady Fanghua and condensed spiritual power for the women. Only then did he let them challenge another 10th grade human immortal beast. As for Yang Chen himself, he was like the people watching the show, staying far away and observing with peace of mind. At the same time, he pampered his maids one by one and raised their cultivation again. Chapter 1508. In principle, Tao and Demon were incompatible, but in some cultivation, the combination of the two complemented each other. At least the cultivation state of Yang Chen's family now fully demonstrates this point. The cultivation base of the women seemed to be reduced after Yang Chen absorbed a part of it, but their spiritual power was more and more condensed, and it was more handy to use, and the power of attack and defense was more and more powerful. This part of the mixed spiritual power, which was regarded as impurities by the Tao sects, became a great tonic for the demon sect maids. Every maid would be stretched to the limit every time, and then try to digest and integrate these spiritual powers in a short period of time, and their cultivation base continued to soar. Naturally, Yang Chen would not forget another important thing, that was to absorb the remaining 7th grade fire seeds. Yang Chen still had a lot of 7th grade fire seeds on hand. Even if he already had the magical white fire seed, the absorption of each kind of fire seed could still improve the power of the yin-yang heaven-burning fire. Yang Chen has currently absorbed the pure Yang True Fire, the pure Yin True Fire plus the spirit-devouring dragon fire, a 3rd fire and 2 4th fires. Relatively speaking, the Yin was abundant and the Yang was weak. Therefore, the next absorption was the upgraded version of the Qilin Profound Fire of Wang Yong. In the past, it took at least 15 years for Yang Chen to absorb a 7th grade fire seed. Since the absorption of the white fire seed, the speed of absorbing the 7th grade fire seed has increased a lot. It took less than 8 years to fully absorb the Qilin Heaven Fire. As soon as the Qilin Heaven Fire was absorbed, the Yin-Yang Heaven-burning fire changed spontaneously. The Yin Fire Dragon and Yang Fire Dragon entered the fire bead formed by the white fire seed again, like a living thing. Then, the newly absorbed Qilin Heaven Fire immediately began to improve its grade. The 7th grade Qilin Heaven Fire, under the influence of the white fire seed, directly raised Yang Chen's cultivation base to another level. The fire attribute spirit power of the 1st grade human immortal rose directly to the 2nd grade human immortal. The improvement at this time was not the kind of situation where he could directly rush to the 5th grade human immortal at the beginning, but it was a great improvement based on the spiritual power quality after Yang Chen had condensed from the 5th grade human immortal to the 1st grade human immortal. In terms of quality alone, it was unknown how many times it had improved. His spiritual sense cultivation also increased, but this level of spiritual sense improvement was not enough to make Yang Chen's 4th grade Earth immortal spiritual sense have a qualitative change, so it was still maintained at the 4th grade Earth immortal spiritual sense. The other spiritual powers were suppressed by Yang Chen at the peak of the Deshang stage and condensed again, but did not break through the level of the human immortal. In 8 years, Yang Chen's wives and concubines had already killed 8 grade 10 human immortal beasts. On average, they would kill one every year. With such efficiency, even the strongest experts of the sect led by Elder Wang, who was an 8th stage human immortal, couldn't compare. Up until now, they had only managed to grind the first grade 10 human immortal beast to the brink of death, and they had yet to truly kill one. After a small gathering with his wives and concubines, Yang Chen continued to absorb the 7th grade fire seeds. There were a lot of fire seeds on his hands, and it was not difficult to absorb one by one. Purple Heart Heavenly Fire, Golden Crow Heavenly Fire, Wrought Metal Heavenly Fire, 9 Serenities Earth Core Fire, Extreme Flame Heavenly Fire, Nether True Fire, Purple Myrtle Heavenly Fire, and so on were almost waiting for Yang Chen to absorb. After absorbing the Qilin Heavenly Fire and being upgraded by the White Fire Seed, Yang Chen's speed of absorbing and fusing the 7th grade fire seeds increased again. The continuous absorption of the Purple Heart Heavenly Fire and the Nether True Fire, the 2 7th grade fire seeds and upgrading the grade, added up to only 10 years. During this period of time, Yang Chen's spiritual power cultivation base soared, the fire attribute cultivation base soared to the 3rd grade human immortal, the 4th grade human immortal, and the other attributes of spiritual power finally broke through the peak of the Deshang stage and entered the realm of the 1st grade human immortal. Only his spiritual sense cultivation base was still accumulating on the basis of the 4th grade of the Earth Immortal and had not broken through. At this point, Yang Chen once again dual cultivated with Lady Fanghua and the 30 maids several times. The mixed spiritual power was given to the women and Yang Chen's cultivation base dropped to the 2nd grade human immortal again, but this time it could no longer drop. On the other hand, Lady Fanghua also rushed to the 4th grade human immortal in a short period of time, and the 30 maids also broke through the peak Deshang stage and entered the 1st grade human immortal realm. After 10 years of tempering, Gao Yu and the other women gained another 10 human immortal and 10 breeds of beast. The experience of long-term high-pressure combat made their cultivation base advance by leaps and bounds in the battle and entered the late Deshang stage. Of course, every time Yang Chen absorbed a kind of fire seed, he would gather with the women for dual cultivation to help them condense their spiritual power and improve the quality of their cultivation base. During this period of time, the cultivation base of Yang Chen and the people around him skyrocketed, and the speed of their cultivation base growth was simply sensational. Compared with the usual step-by-step cultivation, the speed has increased by no less than 10 times. There were only a few stage 10 human immortal beasts left, and Elder Wang and the rest were attacking the 3rd one. Based on this speed, by the time the girls killed all the remaining stage 10 human immortal beasts, they might not be able to kill the 3rd one. Of course, there was still a 2nd grade Earth Immortal Core beast in the end, which was the ultimate goal of the women. Everyone around Yang Chen knew that this time, Yang Chen would definitely clean up all the beasts in the core area. The women all took out all their skills and fought with the 10th grade human immortal beasts while working hard to improve their own cultivation base. As for Yang Chen himself, the refining of the prolonging life pill has been completed, so now he only focused on 2 things. One was to refine the entrance of the immortal beheading stage, and the other was to absorb the remaining 7th grade fire seed. Anyway, Yang Chen couldn't ascend before the entrance of the immortal beheading stage was refined, so there was a long time to absorb the fire seeds. In Yang Chen's hands, he had already obtained a lot of 10th grade human immortal demonic beads. Each of these demonic beads surpassed the demonic beads of the demonized vine closest to the core area. It was just that he didn't know if the demonic beads of these beasts could spontaneously absorb demonic chi like the ultimate demonized vine. If they could spontaneously absorb demonic chi to grow, it meant that Yang Chen could have endless raw materials for the prolonging life pill in the future. With this advantage, even in the spiritual world and immortal world, Yang Chen would still have a unique advantage. After killing more than a dozen 10th grade human immortal beasts, the cooperation of the women became more and more tacit. After taking into account the Murong sisters and Shi Wushuang, the 5 elements hook, the magic treasure of the Dragon Clan, and the 5 elements formation also played a great role. Not to mention anything else, at least the time to kill a beast was saved almost a few months. While Yang Chen was absorbing the fire seeds and waiting, the last 10th grade human immortal beast finally fell to the ground under the gaze of many people. In the core area, apart from the beast that Elder Wang and the others were fighting, there was only one left, which was also the strongest one, 2nd grade Earth Immortal. Chapter 1509. The women returned to Yang Chen's side again, and began the final recuperation. Everyone knew that the upcoming battle was not something that could be completed in a year or two. It was likely to last for 10 or 8 years or even longer. The last battle was definitely the most stressful for the women physically and mentally, and there must be no mistakes in the process of cooperation. Once there was a mistake, it was likely to be seriously injured or even killed. Yang Chen almost did his best to encourage the women, let them relax, let them recuperate, seize all the time, dual cultivation with them, and at the same time tirelessly told them some of the key points in the battle. This was the best exercise for the women, and Yang Chen did not want to directly participate in the destruction. This time, the women cultivated for a full year, especially around the Earth Immortal beast for a long time, trying to find some of its weaknesses. This battle was the last battle on the Demon Continent, and it was estimated that it was also the last battle before the women ascended, so they had to be cautious. Under the continuous high-pressure battles, the cultivation of the women improved rapidly. Shi Wushuang and the Murong sisters had both reached the peak of the Mahayana realm, only one step away from triggering the heavenly tribulation. Gao Yu still maintained the realm of the 3rd grade human immortal, but it was condensed after Yang Chen's dual cultivation. Gong Sunling, Shi Shanshan, and Sun Qingxue had also reached the limit of the late stage of the Mahayana realm, and were about to enter the peak stage of the Mahayana realm. After a year of recuperation, the women's state was restored to the peak, and their fighting intent was also brewed to the peak. The 2nd grade of the Earth Immortal Beast was their strongest whetstone, which would sharpen them into the strongest warriors. All the women were from the Dao sex, which also made the Dao sex cultivators feel proud, and each of them looked arrogant. Before the battle began, Yang Chen handed the golden bell to Shi Shanshan after some deliberation. After all, the opponent was a super powerhouse of the 2nd grade of the Earth Immortal. Even with the suppression of Gao Yu's Emperor Qi, it couldn't change the powerful essence. Shi Shanshan's combat style was too rigid, pressing forward with an indomitable will. Before she completely absorbed the supreme pure yang sword Qi, the necessary defensive measures would give her a higher chance of survival. With regards to Yang Chen's good intentions, Shi Shanshan did not say anything, but the flash of joy in her eyes could not be hidden from Yang Chen. Shi Shanshan took the golden bell and nodded at Yang Chen. Then, she followed Gao Yu and the others to fly to the Earth God Beast. While the women were resting, Elder Wang and the others had joined forces with a few other experts to kill the last human immortal beast. Not for anything else but to be in time for the final battle between the Earth God's beasts. Even if he could not participate in the battle personally, he wanted to observe the entire process. Those who participated in the battle were all the wives and concubines of Yang Chen. Everyone was very sensible and did not take the initiative to join. Obviously, this was an experience meal prepared by Yang Chen for his wives and concubines. No one would fight for it. However, for this decisive battle, all the Deshang stage and great masters on the Demon Continent had rushed here, and only a large number of Yuanying stage ancestors were left in all the sect to guard. It was believed that during this special period, no one would dare to make trouble in the Demon Continent. Otherwise, what was waiting for them would definitely be the pursuit of the whole world after the matter. The battle to kill the Earth Immortal beasts finally began. It was still the familiar cooperation pattern of the women, but this time it was obvious that the women felt unprecedented pressure. Gao Yu's Emperor Qi was exhausted, and she tried her best to pull the Earth Immortal beasts to the level of the 5th grade human immortal. But this was already the limit, and it could not be lower. Gong's Sunling bore the greatest pressure, and the Mountain River geographical map's endurance was also stimulated to the highest. The thousands of Deshang stage masters and 10 human immortal masters also took out an unprecedented state and madly output spiritual power. Several spaces that had been fused with a radius of 10,000 miles also began to share the attack power of the Earth Immortal Beast. The attacks of Shirshanshan, Sun Qingxue and the Murong sisters could only break a small hole in the body of the Earth Immortal Beasts, and could not cause much damage at all. However, their frequent attacks could make the Earth Immortal Beasts have no time to recover, and under the accumulation of injuries, it would eventually be difficult to escape death. This was a process of water dripping through a stone, and everyone knew this. Many people were surprised that the women could hurt the Earth Immortal Beast. At least Elder Wang knew that even if he had the cultivation of the 8th grade human immortal, he would not be able to hurt the other party's hair in the face of the Earth Immortal Beasts. The process was very boring, but whether it was the people who participated in the battle or the spectators, they did not feel it. Every successful attack or defense would give the girls an additional layer of experience in the use of this level of power. And the bystanders could also more or less understand the clues of a higher realm. Yang Chen did not seem to be worried about the safety of his women. At this time, he sat calmly in the same place and began to busy himself with his own affairs. This made many people puzzled, but no one was dissatisfied with it. No one was a fool, and would risk offending Master Yang to make sarcastic remarks. Separating a trace of divine sense to pay attention to the battle over there, Yang Chen continued to absorb the remaining 7th grade fire seeds in the same place. His heart no longer paid attention to the grievances of the mortal world, and began to think about what to do after ascending to the spiritual world. It was undeniable that after arriving in the spiritual world, it would certainly not be as comfortable as the human world. At that time they would face far more tragic killings than the human world and the law of the jungle. Yang Chen had experience in his own memory, but the women still needed to further adapt. In the mortal world, they were the ancestors of the Deshang stage, but after ascending, they immediately became the weakest person who was stepped on by others. It would take a long time and a painful lesson to change their mentality. In addition, the fighting methods were becoming more and more cruel, and the enemies they faced were powerful and terrifying. When the newcomers ascended, they would be suppressed for at least 1,000 years. No one would be given special care, unless they worked hard and could make a way in all kinds of cruel competitions, otherwise, they could only resign themselves to adversity. The women's current battle was to feel the atmosphere of fighting with the strong in advance, and also to increase some accumulation for themselves. Yang Chen did not help them because he wanted them not to rely on him, so that they could truly become indomitable masters in the spiritual world. The next 10 years passed in this seemingly uneventful but extremely dangerous process. The injuries on the Earth Immortal species were also increasing, and its actions were becoming more and more constrained by the ultimate demonized vine. On the contrary, the women were gaining the upper hand. The proportion of attacks was getting higher and higher, and the defense was not as laborious as it was at the beginning. According to this situation, it was only a matter of time before the Earth Immortal species was killed.